led by the Fredericksburg Christian High School team captains, and the invocation by myself. Lord, again, thank you for another beautiful day to be on this earth. Thank you for all that you do for us in this community. And during this season, let us have remembrance of the sacrifice you gave us, our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, and his Father God, who allowed him to suffer and be persecuted to wipe away our sins. And thank you again for all that you do for us every day. And Lord, I ask that you have the community come together for their own neighbors when they see folks suffering or in turmoil. Please let them have something in their heart to step forward and give some strength and encouragement to those that may be struggling in our community. Please look after our public safety and military folks during this holiday season. Amen. Mr. Taylor, I think we have to, for the awards and presentations, I think we have to add something from the Chancellor.
That's correct, Mr. Chairman. We have, first of all, we have two commendations that I understand will not be able to be here. We've heard from both the Chancellor High School field hockey team, the state champs, and the employee of the quarter are not able to be with us this evening, so we need to remove those from the agenda. Need to add to the agenda, we would be the subject of a special recognition. The board would be with a banner coming to us from the Chancellorsville, and we would like to add that to awards and presentations, special recognitions at the beginning.
Okay. The first awards, we need to do the approval of the agenda including the agenda additions, which we just added.
Mr. Chair, we do have some of the employee of the quarter recipients here tonight.
Okay. Mr. Taylor, we'll keep that in there.
All right.
All right. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda, including the any possible additions which we added, which was the presentation to us by the Chancellorsville? All right. Motion by Mr. Skinner. Any discussion? Mr. Yakubowski.
Aye.
Mr. McLaughlin.
Aye.
Mr. Ross.
Aye.
Mr. Skinner.
Aye.
Mr. Marshall.
Aye.
Dr. Trampy.
Aye.
Chair's aye. All right. We have a commendation recognizing the Fredericksburg Christian High School football team state championships. Coach Thomas, if you'd like to come on down and with your coaching staff, I can read this resolution and give you congratulations. Mr. Ross, did you want to say anything? All right. You know, I've followed you for a while, and I know all of the coaches, and that's one thing outstanding that I must say about you, Coach, is that you have never, ever really taken the total credit and everything. You're always quick in any interview that I've seen, any written communications about your accomplishments, not giving credit to your staff, and that's very commendable, and congratulations to all of you. And I got this commendation, and let me read it to you if you can beg my time. All right. This is a commendation for the 2018 Virginia Independent Schools Athletic Association Division II State Football Champions. Whereas the Fredericksburg Christian School football team completed an outstanding season by winning the 2018 VISAA Division II State Football Championships. And whereas the Fredericksburg Christian School Eagles football team is comprised of 29 players and 7 coaches. And whereas the Eagles defeated Isle of Wight Academy in the state semifinals 41-0 to advance to the state finals. And whereas the Eagles defeated Roanoke's North Cross School 35-21 at King George High School in King George County, Virginia, November 17th, 2018, to win the state championships title state championship title. And whereas the Eagles finished the season with an 11-1 record, bringing home the second state football championship title in the Fredericksburg Christian Schools history. And now, therefore, be it resolved that the Spotsylvania County Board of Supervisors commends and recognizes all 29 players and 7 coaches and expresses its pride and appreciation for their excellence and achievement. I'll come down here and present this to you. And also, not only that, I think the Freelance Star, if I'm not mistaken, now you correct me if I'm wrong, I think you were voted Coach of the Year for this region. So.
So I want to just put my hats off to the coaches. I watched pretty much every game this year. It was a pleasure to watch. And it's not just the winning that counts. The character that the coaches and the young men out here have developed has just been impressive to watch and see. So my hat's off to all you guys. It's coming from the county. Well-deserved. Looking forward to next season, but definitely take some time off and get some time with your families over this winter season and Christmas holiday. And you don't have to stay. You can all leave now. We do have to. I'm going to put a motion to approve because we need to vote on the resolution. But so I'll motion to approve.
All right, motion by Mr. Ross to approve this commendation. Mr. Yakubowski.
Aye.
Mr. McLaughlin.
Aye.
Mr. Ross.
Aye.
Mr. Skinner.
Aye.
Mr. Marshall.
Aye.
Dr. Trampy.
Aye.
And Chair, aye. Again, thank you all so much. Congratulations to the kids. Well deserved. Hey, Coach, real quick. How many seniors are you losing? 16? Oh, my word. Whew.
16?
16.
That's how many years it's going to take to get another state. No, divide that by 4. You'd be surprised. Once you've been there, you want to fight for it. This is another handout about the earning.
Mr. Taylor, apparently we do have at least one employee here for recognition. So
If we could proceed with the EOQ recognition, Leslie?
okay.
Here you go. Pass them on to you. Pass this on to you.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. I am honored to have the opportunity this evening to come before you and recognize the employees of the quarter we've had thus far for 2018. As you know, the Employee of the Quarter is designed to recognize employees that consistently exemplify the county's commitment to providing extraordinary customer service to customers inside and outside the organization. I will begin with employees selected for first quarter, and I ask that those employees that are attending tonight to come forward as I call your name. For first quarter, employee Sharon Martin, Facilities Management. No? Okay. Sharon was elected Employee of the Quarter for going beyond the call of duty. In her nomination, she was described as a hard worker and an employee who jumps right in with any task, many of which are not part of her regular job duties. Her attitude of no job is beneath me is clearly evident. Sharon will take the initiative to complete even the nastiest task. Cleaning up accidents without any complaints, she makes extra efforts to assist citizens and, quote, be professional on the job and assist anyone who needs it. First quarter, public safety. Captain David Flint, firefighter paramedic Brian McPherson and firefighter paramedic Shannon Taylor. Through a combined effort, these individuals worked together to purchase and install automated external defibrillators throughout the county and in the county buildings. And if you noticed, there's one right located out here in the lobby. Another part of this project was called Pulse Point. This is a program that locates public access AEDs in our community and will interface with the new computer-aided dispatch. When a cardiac arrest is dispatched, subscribers to Pulse Point that are close to the cardiac arrest in a public area will receive a text-type notification alerting them to the incident and the location of the closest AED. A cardiac arrest is when your heart stops beating and you are not breathing. And every minute you are in cardiac arrest, your chances of survival decrease by 10%. So 10 minutes without CPR and AED therapy typically equates to almost zero chance of survival. Rapid AED deployment and CPR are essential for survival. These are the two for the first quarter. Second quarter, Sandy Orris, administrative technician, fire and rescue. Fire and Rescue does not have a full-time fire prevention educator, and even though she isn't compensated for being a fire safety educator, she has taken on this role and has made tremendous impact within our community. Her work with the senior community of our county has definitely paid off. Since the implementation of the program, the number of fires involving seniors has decreased. In 2017, she, along with the Fire Marshal's Office, received First Responder of the Year from the Fredericksburg Area Chamber of Commerce. This was due to her work with the community in fire prevention. Okay. Communicator operators and officers, Nicole Stanley, Amber O'Brien, Matthew Richard, Carly Roper, Tabitha Laser, and their supervisor, Lori Ruiz, Brittany Martin, Bridget Payne, Kathleen Douglas, Chelsea Mills, Jana Rowland, Milady Walker, and Mila Vaughn. The Spotsylvania Emergency Communications Day Shift employees went above and beyond the call of duty after the completion of their normal 12-hour shift rotation when they voluntarily and without hesitation stayed beyond their shift to ensure the public outcome for both the citizens of Spotsylvania County and the emergency responders as a result of the May 14th storms that caused hazardous road conditions and widespread damage and power outage. This storm resulted in 16 times the normal call volume. Okay. Third quarter. Unfortunately, neither of these two individuals could be here this evening, but I'll go ahead and give you their information. Patrick Stambaugh and Mike Mitchell, both utility field crew workers with our utilities department. On Friday, September 14th, Patrick noticed a vehicle overturned in a heavily wooded brush area off the right side of the road. He stopped and used the county vehicle as a safety barrier to control traffic and protect himself, as well as the other bystanders who stopped to give aid. Patrick immediately called 911 to initiate emergency services. Each assisted the driver of the vehicle in securing the scene until emergency services arrived. And lastly, Sergeant Mike Barber with the Sheriff's Department. Sergeant Barber is a 10-year veteran of the Spotsylvania Sheriff's Office SWAT team. He has worked his way up the ranks to his current position as a tactical team leader. Sergeant Barber is also a pilot on the newly formed unmanned aerial systems team. He was an integral part of the planning and research that was necessary to undertake an endeavor. UASs are commonly known as drones. An example of Sergeant Barber's commitment to the protection of life through his involvement with the SWAT occurred on the evening of July 23rd of 2018. On that day, Sergeant Barber responded to assist the Fredericksburg Police Department in the Mayfield community with attempting to apprehend a subject who had just attempted to kill a Fredericksburg officer. Sergeant Barber provided invaluable support in a SWAT capacity by deploying a robot to help with clearing of the home that the suspect had originally fled to. The robot was able to clear more than 95% of the square footage of the home and assist in the safe apprehension of the individual. Okay. These are the recipients for the first, second, and third quarter of 2018.
Was that? Yep. Congratulations again to each of you. Job well done.
Mr. Chairman, that brings us to the Friends of the USS Chancellorsville. Their point of contact, Lynn Freshour, and an esteemed group of his colleagues are here to present us with a banner.
Good evening, Mr. President, board members. It's my honor to announce that the first commanding officer of the USS Chancellorsville and the third commanding officer of the USS Chancellorsville and Commissioning Committee Chair Joe Wilson are here to present the banner for you. Our ship has been busy in the South China Sea, and it'll be the Friends have been supporting our ship for 29 years. Turn around. And this is the third year that the ship has sent a banner back to Spotsylvania County. With that, I'd like the board to come down and receive the presentation.
All right, Mr. Taylor.
Brings
to
us
consent
to
agenda.
consent agenda, Mr. Chairman. The floor computer, please. Items on your consent agenda this evening are as follows. Item 1 is the approval of board meeting minutes for November 15 and 27 of this year. Second is to approve a budget amendment and resolution for the FY 2019 Victim Witness Grant Program. This is a $5,103 grant we've received. It has no local match. Third is the approval of a budget amendment and resolution for additional non-competitive litter and recycling grant funds. We've received an additional $2,173 that have no local match. Item 4 is to approve an application for water quality improvement grant funding for the Thornburg wastewater treatment plant. There is no financial impact at this time. This is to authorize the application for the grant. Item 5 is a resolution to approve installation of utility lines by Rappahannock Electric Cooperative across county road right-of-way. Item 6 is to approve proposed updates to our procurement policies to implement changes in the state code and to implement some process improvements. Item 7 is to approve a purchase order to Rush Truck Centers of Virginia, Inc. for a roll-off refuse truck at a low bid cost of $149,039. Item 8 is to approve a task order to Sullivan, Donahoe, and Ingalls, P.C. for lake bottom sewer and water line booster pump design at a cost of $143,994. Item 9 is the acceptance of Ashley Park streets on Teesside Drive into the Virginia secondary system. That's in the Chancellor District. Item 10 is to authorize a public hearing for a lease of office space for Congresswoman Abigail Spanberger. Item 11 is a contract renewal for legal services for the Department of Social Services. This is the third renewal for January 1, 2019 to September 1, 2019. Item 12 is deappropriation of FY 2019 funding for the Journey Through the Chesapeake Bay Environmental Camp. This action is to free up that $19,000 in funding for other environmental education programs in the county. Item 13 is a grant award acceptance and appropriation for federal fiscal year 2018 Virginia Department of Emergency Management Homeland Security Grant Program. This is for a patrol boat for Lake Anna. It's a grant of $82,892, which funds our acquisition of the boat, and there is no local match for this. Item 14 is the approval, reconciliation of the federal fiscal 2018 Virginia Department of Emergency Management Grant Award. It's a total of $40,579. $18,078 partially pays for the division chief and logistics chief's salary, and $22,501 pays for the purchase of a communication console for the Emergency Operations Center, and that is your consent agenda for this evening.
Now we have public comment on the consent agenda only. Amy, is anybody signed up?
No, sir.
All right. We'll open up public comment. Does anybody wish to speak on the consent agenda only that did not sign up at this time? Seeing none, we'll close public comment on the consent agenda. Discussion from the board. Anybody want to pull anything? Any discussion or motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve the agenda by Mr. Ross. Any discussion? Mr. Skinner?
Aye.
Mr. Marshall?
Aye.
Dr. Trampy?
Aye.
Mr. Yakubowski?
Aye.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Aye.
Mr. Ross?
Aye.
And chair's aye.
That brings us to public comment. Amy or anyone say that?
Yes, sir.
All right, we'll open up public presentations. When your name, do you want to read the instructions?
Certainly. Public presentations are an opportunity for citizens to present matters you believe deserve the board's attention. These presentations are not part of a public hearing. Sign up to speak at each public hearing is separate. Public presentations are one-way comments from citizens to the Board of Supervisors. This is not a forum for dialogue or debate. To make a public presentation, please sign up on the provided sheet. Come to the lectern when your name is called. Clearly state your name and your voting district for our record. Address your comments directly to the board. Indicate, please, whether you're speaking on your own behalf, in which case you'll have 3 minutes to speak, or on behalf of a group, in which case you'll have 5 minutes to speak. Public presentations shall not be used to address matters that are subject to public hearings or to make political campaign speeches, private advertisements, or personal attacks. Your written comments are always welcome. Please do notice the timing system on the lectern. When the yellow light comes on, you have 30 seconds to sum up. When the red light comes on, the microphone will be deactivated. Amy, who is the first speaker, please?
Justin Langridge, followed by Tim Briner.
5, please, sir. Speaking as a group. Thank you. Good evening, Justin Langridge. I'm speaking tonight as president of the Spotsylvania County Professional Firefighters Association, IAFF, Local 3886. Our office is located at 9835 Courthouse Road, and I'm a voter in the Lee Hill District. I've been coming to this board for several years now to address pay issues, many of which haven't changed. Despite possibly good intentions, a full solution still has not been delivered. During the FY19 budget public hearing, we thanked the board for added staff positions and recognized that we can't fix everything in a single budget year. Now I'm back before you as promised. This year, I hope we can finish addressing the compensation issues. Tonight, I'm not saying that there are not other funding needs within schools, utilities, or other county departments, or that our needs are any more important. I'm only speaking to the needs that we've identified from our standpoint in public safety. Whether it was a county staff effort to present the board with something that was, quote, palatable, or an unfortunate consequence of trying to bid, conduct, and present a solution on a very short timeline, the Evergreen report suggested $1.8 million solution simply did not paint a full picture for the board, and the subsequent implementation contained several significant omissions. While we attempted to address these concerns immediately following the report's publication, our 2 biggest concerns remain today: salary range and classification range placements. On a positive note, the developed salary ranges, meaning the minimum and maximum salaries for each job classification title, appears to be competitive with market. This has helped resolve some issues with entry-level workers. However, the years of service between top and bottom is not competitive with the public safety market space, nor does it mirror our own VRS Virginia retirement system for hazardous duty positions. LEO's positions require 25 years for full retirement. Many jurisdictions base range on 20 years, and some research has even suggested that employees should be targeted for mid-range by 5, max at 10. Currently, Spotsylvania requires 30 years in position to move through the position's range. While our ask would be for a 20-year spread, often seen in other localities, we feel that 25 would mirror VRS and provide a fair compromise, and I'll mention that again in a moment. The bigger issue has been range placement. Employees were placed in their salary range based on the date they started their current job assignment, not the total time in the department or organization. Nor was there consideration for an individual's employee's value based on internal or external experience or their level of education. In some instances, this has actually furthered compression between grades when considering employees of equal tenure, and has further disenfranchised highly experienced employees, particularly ones with recent job title changes or promotion. For example, several 10 to 14-year firefighters were recently promoted to lieutenant, each placed at the absolute minimum for their salary range. They will still need to work another 30 years to reach the top end of their range. This doesn't make sense. When you consider how this affects higher ranks, the disparity becomes even wider. The methodology does not at all mirror the compensation philosophies common in the public safety market space. We validated this through FOIA requests from several jurisdictions, including Henrico, Hanover, Chesterfield, Fredericksburg, Stafford, and King George. Experienced staff must both be valued and compensated for their experience. Failing to do so has not gone unnoticed by junior employees who are much more flexible in their career roadmaps. During recent discussions on proposed projects, firefighter safety has been mentioned on occasion. While our members are already exposed to numerous cancerous agents and toxins daily, one of the biggest issues affecting our immediate safety is a watered-down labor force lacking experience due to both county growth and personnel retention. For anyone else addressing you tonight, if they're concerned about the well-being of public safety personnel, may they express their support in taking efforts to retain experienced staff. To address these issues, the Public Safety Compensation Plan has been developed by heads of FRIM and Sheriff's Office. This was outlined publicly at a recent Public Safety Commission meeting. It was developed, supported, and agreed upon by both county departments. It does contain some compromises, such as a 25-year range rather than 20, but this plan is supported by both the Career Firefighters Association and the Police Benevolence Association. I ask tonight that you host discussion on this. The proposed plan provides clear direction to county staff. You have a lot on your plates, possibly bigger, more attention-drawing issues. We are concerned that without your discussion on this and without clear direction to county staff, the issue will die. You've invested a lot in fire rescue and public safety personnel. I ask that you maximize that investment, protect that investment, and secure that investment, and have discussion and place direction on this for future. Thank you.
Tim Briner, followed by Russ Mueller.
I'm speaking on behalf of a group. Hello, my name is Tim Briner, and I'm the president of the Spotsylvania chapter of the Virginia Police Benevolent Association. I'm here to build upon Mr. Langridge's comments regarding the concerns his organization and mine have in relation to continued pay disparity that exists for our public safety employees in Spotsylvania County. This disparity continues to exist even though the county is closing in on the end of the 3-year implementation of the Evergreen study. A majority of employees in entry-level positions will likely be close to where they should be on the county pay scale at the end of this 3rd-year implementation. However, employees that have stayed loyal to this county and have been promoted during their tenure here are still not being appropriately compensated. This exact concern was voiced to the county administration and the Board of Supervisors back in 2017 when the Evergreen study was released. I stood before you at that time and gave you a specific example of an employee, namely myself, who would be adversely affected by the proposed adjustments of individuals based on time and grade and not tenure with the county. County administration implemented a plan to try and address this issue in their 3-year plan implementation. However, my analysis reveals that these efforts have not made much headway in correcting the shortfalls that exist with tenured employees who have taken the initiative to promote up the ranks. The Firefighters Association did a FOIA request for the county salaries here in Spotsylvania right after the last pay increase, and this information was shared with me. I did my own analysis on employee compensation shortfalls pertaining to Sheriff's Office employees. The premise for my analysis is that sworn employees would reach the maximum of their pay scale at 25 years, not 30, and that pay should be based off tenure with the county, not time and grade. My numbers are only preliminary as they do not take into account residual expenses that the county incurs from employee salaries. The cost to bring 135 full-time deputy sheriffs to where they should be on the pay scale would be approximately $272,000. An average of approximately $2,000 per deputy. However, for 20 full-time detectives, the cost would be approximately $143,000, an average of approximately $7,200 per detective. For 15 sergeants, the cost would be approximately $70,000, an average of approximately $4,700 per sergeant. For 13 first sergeants, the cost would be approximately $112,000, an average of approximately $8,600 per first sergeant. For 5 lieutenants, the cost would be approximately $40,000, average of approximately $8,000 per lieutenant. For 5 captains, it would be approximately $43,000 for an average of approximately $8,600 per captain. Finally, to bring the majors to where they should be on the pay scale will cost approximately $23,000. This data alone reveals that individuals who are promoted with this agency have been and continue to be undercompensated, as was the concern voiced during the implementation of the Evergreen study. In addition to the deficiencies just noted in the 3-year implementation of the pay study, another deficiency has been noted. Some of the existing county pay bands adopted by the county, which were formulated based off the market data on Spotsylvania being compared to other localities, are not in line with the existing county classification and compensation guidelines. According to Section 16, subsection B, when an employee changes from one position to a position that is 2 grades or more higher, the employee may receive a 10% increase in salary or the new position's minimum salary, whichever is greater. Under the adopted compensation plan for the sheriff's office, there are 3 ranks that have a 3 pay grade change, which is 15%, not 10%. An example of this is if a sergeant who's a pay grade 17 gets promoted to a pay grade 21st sergeant. The market study revealed that certain positions need to be regraded due to the market, which is what the county adopted. However, if this person presently gets promoted from sergeant to first sergeant, the county is only giving them a 10% increase, even though it's a 3 pay grade increase. This automatically places the employee behind the market at the time of promotion. While I've primarily spoken about the sheriff's office, the deficiencies that exist in employee compensation mentioned above also carry over to FREMS. There are other deficiencies that may exist that have not been mentioned today. However, those brought to your attention today are the deficiencies that are most paramount to address for our membership. If given the opportunity by the Board of Supervisors, we would be open to providing a more comprehensive presentation in the future regarding these concerns to include potential remedies for the issues that we have already formulated. Thank you.
Russ Mueller, followed by Moya Doss.
My name is Russ Mueller. I'm part of a group, and I live in the Livingston district. Last Friday, I awoke to a text from my daughter, "Nice pic." When I looked at the Freelance Star, I saw that the front page included my picture, but the caption was wrong. In connection with the December 5th Planning Commission hearing, the caption said, quote, "Russell Mueller speaks against a plan to build the S-Power facility." To be clear, I actually read into the record the letter sent to the Planning Commission by the noted local land use attorney, Clark Lemming. So to obtain an unbiased view of the Planning Commission staff report on this unprecedented solar project the size of Fredericksburg, we asked Mr. Lemming for his findings and opinion on the report. I think this board could also benefit from some of his expert opinions. As to the state of the S-Power application, he says, while it is not altogether clear why the applicant's plans are not more definitive by this time in the process, the Commission's under no obligation to finalize its recommendation until the staff signals it's done and the applicant declines to submit further plans. Here's a very knowledgeable person who's dealt with numerous special use permits. But like us, he cannot fathom how S-Power has not come forward in a year's time with specific detailed plans to mitigate the serious risks this industrial site poses to Spotsylvania. In this regard, he said the Planning Commission should follow the staff's well-considered recommendation, which signals that the application is deficient in a number of respects, requiring the submission of additional plans by the applicant and review by the staff. He says that the staff specifically notes the need for additional conditioning. In this regard, he says the staff has proposed 10 pages of extensive conditions, but notwithstanding the diligent work of staff, he notes our concerned citizens group has requested more comprehensive conditions. Specifically, I later requested on the water issue the following. Based on the county's own consulting reports, which raise serious questions relating to the use of wells to provide water during construction, I believe it is prudent the SUP include a provision requiring the applicant to use only county water, which can be obtained through bulk means, as well as from an upgrade to the county water system through Fawn Lake, as explained by Ben Loveday, your own utilities director. The use of wells should be prohibited even as a backup, in as much as bulk water purchases are available and then used only after there are specific things done that your own consultants say should be done. This solution would have the benefit of eliminating the risk of damage to the aquifer and so on, improving the county water system and water pressure for fire protection in residence. As you know, we've also asked for additional conditions to mitigate harm to citizens and the environment, and Mr. Lemming summarized these: no burning, use of CDTE panels, use of phosphorus chemicals fertilizers, provision of setbacks of at least 350 feet from adjacent property lines with the establishment of berms, appropriate vegetative screening. Now, it's still 50 feet from Fawn Lake lots. What's going on, folks? Tell me, will you? Do you know? Mr. Lemming notes that a number of these suggestions appear to have been adopted by staff. However, conditions at this point are insufficient to offset the impacts of the development, as staff has acknowledged. We thank the county for obtaining independent consultant reports to review the application. I'd call your attention to the fact staff report leaves vacant the consultant's recommendation for a $15 million surety guarantee for decommissioning, which would not give S-Power credit for the phantom offset for used solar panels.
Sir, your time has expired.
There are no other citizens signed up to speak.
Is there anybody that did not sign up that would come forward?
Actually, I did sign up, but it was on the paper out in the hall. My name is Vivian Stanley from Livingston District, and I'm speaking for the group We the People. I am reviewing the newspaper comments that were made by various people that Scott Schenck put in this sad little paper. And I was struck by this one comment from Charlie Payne, who is a local attorney who is working for S-Power, as so many people are. And he noted that this is the future. Solar is the future. Well, nowhere in the future or in the past has a solar factory been put in the middle of a community. Nowhere. You know why they're doing that here? They want to do that here? My son was very astute when he came up with this. Because there's a bunch of backwood hicks who don't know anything. And so S-Power can run in and pull the wool over their eyes. Just my opinion. Another thing here is a packet contained a letter from the city manager in California. I don't have a whole lot of respect for the people in California because they let anything happen there. Anything and everything, and they don't do anything about it. But one thing they did do, they did not allow solar factories in the middle of a community. That's the only good thing I can say about California. Okay. The land report. Solar Power, S-Power, has sent several reports. One report in particular was a 45 beginning pages, was 45 pages of soil samples where some person out in California at one of their little plants dug a hole a foot deep, tested the cadmium in it. Oh, it's okay, it's okay. And they did that for 45 pages of that report. How many of you guys read that? Okay. Well, you know, another thing I would like to know, just raise your hand and let me know which of you guys would be living with your families in the death zone. I don't see any hands. We just bought property here. I'm majorly upset that Spotsylvania didn't have the backbone to tell people who are coming into the county that this monstrosity was even suggested to be allowed in a community. That seems like that could be a very good lawsuit on down the road when people start getting cancer if you allow this monstrosity into the community. When they start getting cancer, that class action suit will just tear your county to pieces because you will be responsible, and each one who votes for this monster will be eligible to be sued as well. So think about that before you vote for this. Another thing, several times people have said, we're going to give you solar panels on top of your schools and your public buildings. What a deal that is. We're going to give them to you. Well, nobody seems to understand, even though I've told several people several times, that these panels produce electromagnetic radiation, which in turn causes ADHD in kids, especially little boys. I know you guys aren't there with your families and kids, but a lot of these people in the community are. And so then they have a child who has ADHD. They can't sit still. They can't learn. They can't do anything right like they used to be able to. And so what do you think is going to happen? I think your DSS department, which is so screwed up now that they've taken kids away from families and putting them up for adoptions, I just cannot fathom that anybody can be so stupid to put solar panels on top of a school, even after they've been told 3 and 4 times the damage that this would cause to the kids. And they're still touting it as a good thing. Maybe it's a good thing for your child or grandchild, but it certainly wouldn't be good for mine. Let's see, what other criticisms do I have today for that article? I don't think I have any more for the article, but I do have a great major concern.
Your time has expired.
Is there anybody else that did not sign up that wishes to speak at this time? Seeing none, we'll close public presentations. I think we're at board reports.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Yakubowski?
Oh, just one thing that I wanted to mention was thank you to everybody who came out for the Christmas parade last Saturday. It was a little rainy, at least it wasn't snowy, and we had a great time on the trolley throwing candy out, and lots of people were catching it, and I didn't hit anybody, but I won't say which board members did, but apologies all around for anybody who did get hit by the hard candy. But anyway, we had a good time. Lots of people turned out, and I think it was a great event. And again, thank you to staff for all the hard work that they put into doing that, and all the time that is put into it. It really does really highlight just the quality that we have here. And I would again like to bring up that in the beginning of the year, I would like to discuss a 4th of July parade. I know it's a lot of work, and I know it's a big endeavor, but I do believe that it could be something that would be very positive and would add more to the Stars and Stripes spectacular that we have been doing for about a dozen years or so. Thank you.
Yeah, I got a quick one here, and I really just want to follow up on some of the comments made by a couple of speakers. Could we get the fire chief and the sheriff to put together a presentation about where we stand with the pay and how that is affecting his retention rates? We have that done?
Certainly.
Yeah, so if you could work with the two of them and come up with a presentation and just to try to find out where do we stand? Right. Are we still competitive, not competitive? Is the retention rates, are we dropping, or do we need to do something about the pay band on the public safety?
Certainly.
Okay. That's all I have. Thanks.
Mr. Ross?
Nothing to report.
Mr. Skinner?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to reiterate what Mr. McLaughlin said. We do need to know really the most about what it costs to train both the fireman and the police officer, and how many we're losing, and what is the exact difference between other pay out there. Because I have reviewed it, and I think there is quite a change in there, because we're losing people because of the price. So I think that's very important. I would like to see that too. The other thing is I'd like to also say thank you to everybody that came out to the Christmas parade. It was a great event. If we did hit people, it wasn't intentional. I'll blame it on my grandson. He had a good arm. Okay. Cycling has Barrett March to over with about. So anyway, although we only have one meeting this year, I would like to wish everybody a very happy holiday season out there for everyone. That's all, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Marshall.
I also like to thank everybody who attended the Christmas parade. I agree with Mr. Yabowski. I would like to see the board have a discussion about having a 4th of July parade also. We could use a little bit different vehicles then. We wouldn't be so enclosed. A little cold out there. I appreciate everybody that did come out and brave the cold and the wetness. Also, I'd like to wish everybody happy holidays and appreciated everybody that did turn out for the Christmas parade. Thank you.
Dr. Trampy.
No report.
All right, I'll start with one, most amount of comments. I will echo what Mr. McLaughlin and Mr. Skinner said. You know, I pushed this hard when I was first elected for the pay study, which was done, and I've touted from the beginning that it wasn't going to be fixing our issues. And certainly at least from what we've heard from the two speakers tonight, it is not. Nobody seems to want to listen, and we definitely need to have some more conversation, Mr. Taylor. It's not working. I don't know if we have, our hands to me are kind of tied. We still have that third implementation to do of the Evergreen study, but, it's in all departments within our county. Everybody's pay is behind as far as with anybody with any tenure. You cannot promote a man and just give him a 6 months because he's been on the job 6 months, little bump in his pay when he's been there for 15, 20 years. Nobody wants to seem to listen to that. Nobody wants to listen to where we need to kind of keep the base pay stagnant for, I can understand bumping it up on occasion, but that's why we have the daggone pay studies, is to bump them up and to do what we have to do when the pay study says it's needed. We keep on bumping up the base salary, and that just meets your new hire, and it does absolutely daggone nothing. But nobody wants to listen. Next year starts my 4th year, and to me, we're still at ground zero with pay. And it's just frustrating when I know what these county employees do. Mr. Marshall and I both lived the life, and with him still living it. And we know what our county employees do, all of them, for our citizens. You wouldn't see these monthly presentations about our employees if they weren't out there doing and making this county proud and setting the example for other employees to follow. Not that they're the only ones. I'm sure there's plenty of them out there that don't get the recognition that they deserve as far as what they're doing, going above and beyond. I have a plethora of stories where, as a crew or as a group of employees, have certainly gone over and above time and time and time again. We don't do it for the recognition, and obviously we don't do it for the pay. But it would be nice to actually have a decent living and get by. I'm so daggone tired of hearing people complain about an employee making $75,000, $80,000. Well, why the heck shouldn't they? Especially when they've been on for half their daggone lives serving the citizens and doing. There's going to be some interesting discussion coming up. I'm up for re-election next year. Whether I'm elected or not, I don't know, but I would like to see this done, or at least started that way. And hopefully, if I'm not successful, hopefully whoever is can support our employees. I was contacted over the weekend about a bus trip to New York. I guess Parks and Rec puts on. This is for you, Mr. Taylor. I guess this is the second trip where the buses that we've apparently arranged have been absolutely worthless. I think the last ones that they were told to be at the Parks and Rec location by 4 o'clock. They'd leave by 4:30. And I think after 5:30 they left and immediately went to a service station for fuel for the bus. So I don't know what's going on, where there's some pride in that company or companies that we're using, but we need to maybe look somewhere else, if you don't mind looking into that. And I can get you some interesting pictures and some, I think they made it to D.C. at a little after 12:30 in the afternoon. So if that doesn't tell you how their trip went from start to, and I think they got back at 2 a.m. So I guess they gave them some extra time to actually maybe participate instead of drive through New York and turn around and come back. I did have some comments about and I know we don't have a full house tonight like we have in the past with some of our speakers, but I'm kind of disappointed. You know, I love Spotsylvanians. I think we have the greatest community in the world, but you know, we live in a democracy, and just because somebody's getting up and speaking contrary to what you believe and how you think things should be does not give us the right to embarrass or distract or just I don't know what you call it. But you know, we had a 15-year-old kid, and how often do we hear how important it is for our youth to be involved? And that young man was ridiculed and heckled from the audience. This is during the Planning Commission's meeting, not ours, but it happens here too, when motions are involved. We need, as citizens of Spotsylvania County, and as you know, as a democracy here that we have, and our freedoms that we're allowed, not to do that to people. It's shameful. Everybody's going to have different opinions. Nobody's perfect. And we need to be respectful of everybody. That's all I've got to say about that. On a good note, Merry Christmas to everybody. Hope you give thought about what this Christmas is all about, and spread that to the youth. Give them a little taste of the birth of our Christ and what He did for us. But I hope everybody has a very blessed one, a safe one, a merry one, and I'm sure I do appreciate this board's assistance, help, guidance, and everything. And as chairman, I do appreciate it. I'm ready to give it up as soon as possible. And just thank you, the citizens, for coming forward and expressing your views to us. That's what we need. We need participation of folks out there to come and talk to us, and that's what it's all about. And be patient. One thing I learned when I got elected is nothing happens fast in apparently any government. So God bless you. Have a safe holiday season.
Mr. Chair.
Mr. Skinner.
Can I add one thing too? When you get that report from the police, from the sheriff's office, and also for firefighters, could we see a plan that shows us time in grade, not time in grade, but time in service? Because I realize, as other members on this board, when we're in the service, we get paid by the rank, but also how many years in service we have. And I think that's really important to look at that. I think that's where we're missing the boat. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Yes, sir. I believe we have the VDOT report. God, we've grown that thing out nicely, man. Glad to have you.
All this winter weather, I gotta get ready, right?
That's right.
All right, well, thank you all for having me. Can y'all hear me all right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So hopefully you all survived the winter weather here we had recently. I know our crews were in 24/7 operations until literally today. So I think they went home at 3:30 and got to be with their families. So glad we could get through that. All right, so we'll go ahead and get started with the VDOT report. To begin, we have the Battlefield District preliminary engineering updates. So this is two projects kind of grouped together here, but the Exit 126 and the South Point Parkway crossover conversion. The public hearing is tentatively set for March of 2019, and the current schedule has construction beginning in 2021, and that's going to be for the two right turn lanes coming onto Route 1, and then additionally 2 right turn lanes turning onto South Point Parkway. Next one in the Berkeley District, as far as preliminary engineering updates, we have the Mud Tavern Road improvements west of I-95. So the right-of-way phase has begun as of this month, and that project is set to be advertised in December of 2019. Also, as construction updates go, we have the Mud Tavern Road over I-95 and improvements east of I-95. That completion of the project is scheduled for September of 2019. I'll go ahead and go to the next slide here so you can see our new picture here. That is the new bridge over top of I-95, which opened within the last month or so. The old bridge is currently being demolished. We have gotten rid of the span over top of I-95. The only thing left to do now is to remove the abutments. But there should be no delays or anything as far as night work on I-95 now that the spans are all taken care of. So, in the Chancellor District, we have Spotswood Furnace Road. So this and a couple others I'll mention a little later. Our rural rustic projects were kind of put on a little bit of a hold due to the winter weather. We got a little bit behind in regards to some of the improvements as far as drainage goes, and our contractor had the same issues that we did. So they were behind on their work, and unfortunately we were not able to get the contractor out before the winter. But that being said, we've completed all of the ENS plan, and the environmental work's already been completed. These roads that were delayed, Spotswood Furnace being one of them, and then 2 others in the Livingston District, which I'll get to later in the slideshow, they are going to be done first thing in spring of 2019. We have already sent letters out as of this week to all the residents on all of these roads, the rural rustic routes, to let them know that these projects have been pushed to spring of 2019. We believe that this is going to give a better product as well. We didn't want to push anything with the temperatures being low, so we didn't want to get too greedy there. So, in the Cortland District, as far as preliminary engineering updates go, we have the I-95 northbound river crossing. So this is currently under design, and the construction is slated to start in 2020. And that's going to be the CD lanes northbound on I-95 over the Rappahannock River. Additionally, we have under construction, we have the I-95 southbound river crossing, and that's going to be constructing 3 lanes inside of the 2 existing bridges over the Rappahannock River. That project is under construction currently by Wagman Heavy Civil. Also in the Cortland District, we have the Route 3 safety improvements. That project is now complete. And Mr. Ross, we had talked the other day, I'm very much going to look into the signal timings. I know that when I last talked to them, they were still doing some tweaks, but I'm going to look and kind of see where we were at prior to the project and what that's kind of changed in regards to now the project being completed. So I'll look into that for you. In the Lee Hill District, excuse me. In the Lee Hill District, we have the Route 17 Mills Drive bridge replacement and roadway widening. That project is going to replace a structurally deficient bridge over 95, and that is set to advertise in fall of 2021. In the Livingston District, and these are the 2 projects that I was referring to earlier, we have Woolfolk and Mount Holly. Mount Holly, we were able to get the hard surfacing completed, and we rode out there the other day. It seems to look okay. I think there was some light sweeping work that we're going to be doing. We're going to wait till after the winter to get that done. The Woolfolk, that was one of the ones that we have had to push off until spring of 2019. Again, we've sent letters out to all the citizens that live on Woolfolk and kind of advised them of this. And then also in regards to the rural rustics, we're going to continue doing the prep work on some of the other roads that we're already looking to get done in 2019. I don't foresee our schedule being pushed back at all. It's just going to be that the contractor's going to get out there in the spring and hit all of the roads that are currently ready to go and shelf ready. Woolfolk and Spotswood Furnace being 2 of them. The rest of them were on the list prioritized by you all, including Dovey and some of the other ones, and we're still slated to work on those next year. In the Salem District, we have no updates at this time, and that is going to be the end of the board report. So at this time, if you all have any questions for me, I'd be happy to.
Any questions? Mr. Skinner.
Excuse me. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On the northbound lanes, is there any work, and this probably can answer our FAMPO people here, because you got southbound lanes over the Rappahannock. Are there any northbound planned lanes in the future? Because if you take a look in the morning, the same traffic that's coming off of 17 in the afternoon is going on 17 in the morning, and it does get backed up there. Do you know if there's any plans in the work for that, for the northbound lanes over the river?
Yeah, so in regards to, so the southbound lanes have already, that one's already under construction. Northbound lanes, we look for that to get funded, but we are currently under design for that. But the idea, we would hope, to, depending on design and everything else, that we can mirror very similar to what we've done on the other side, southbound.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Anybody else?
Mr. Chair.
Mr. McClellan.
A quick one for you. I don't know whether I should assume or not, on Route 3 in front of the CVS where that dip in the road is, there's cones and taped off. Is that being repaired?
So right there at the CVS is that turn lane, the furthest right lane when you're coming, I guess it would be eastbound, right?
Correct.
So the CVS, that's part of their site plan, and when they are done, they're going to have to make sure that that road is coming into our system just like I'd take any other road into the system. So they are going to have to make sure it is up to our standards. So if there's a dip in the road now, they will have to fix it prior to it coming into our system and us opening it up.
Okay, because anytime it rains, there's 6 inches
understood.
of water standing in the road. Okay, thanks.
Anybody else? I got one for y'all.
Yes, sir.
You've probably got, I think you've gotten a call from it, and I think I've also called. Orange Plank Road, right in the area of Chancellor Meadows. It's actually before Chancellor Meadows. It's a little low spot, and man, it's literally, all the patchwork's literally ripping apart.
Right. So that section of Orange Plank from, I believe, Windy Acres to the county line. I think I'm saying that right.
I'm not sure if it's Windy Acres or not.
I think that section is on the next resurfacing schedule for next year, pending funding. But that being said, I believe that there is a pipe that they may have an issue in that area, and that's kind of what's causing some of these things, both the pipe and the surface itself. So what we're looking to do is hold that area over, make sure that we can get that squared away before the resurfacing schedule comes in. Now, when they come in next spring or summer, again, pending funding, they're going to be digging out these sections. So we don't just go over and overlay something on top of a bad surface. We patch it out prior to the 2 to 3 inch overlay or whatever it is. So they will most certainly be fixing that then. In the immediate future, my crews can go out there and patch whatever's there, and if there is a failed pipe, we're going to have to replace it. So that will get done prior to that resurfacing schedule. But we'll put some more eyes on it. I know that they've fixed it in the past, and it's come back up. It's a bad area. It's a base failure, and we're holding it over as long as we can.
All right. Yeah, but something needs. It really. I haven't been down it this past week, but I'll get down it probably tomorrow, and I'll take a picture if it's still in the condition I saw week before last. I mean, it's like a crater in there. Somebody's going to be flying over on the other side trying to miss it and nail somebody.
Absolutely. If there's an immediate safety issue, we're going to get on it.
Yeah, it's in bad shape.
Understood.
All right. Anybody else? Mr. Marshall.
Real quick, Kyle, just to confirm, you do still have work scheduled on Marie Road between Hadamar and Shirley's Hill to work on the ditch lines there?
Yes.
We're still having we got big rain coming Friday and Saturday. That section of Marie Road is it floods in about 6 different locations.
Right.
And it's definitely going to, with the lay of the land and the way the road is with the curves there, it's very dangerous when that water gets there, and we need to correct it.
Yep, it's still planned for ditching. We had our grade all that we typically would use in this instance. We actually sent it down to during the last hurricane that happened down the northern neck area, and unfortunately, it went down there, and it was down there for a long period of time, and then when it came back, it was broken down. So we do have to get on that. That is one that's on our list.
Thank you.
Mr. Marshall, you think, just joking, Mr. McLaughlin, think we ought to ride Mr. McLaughlin around when it rains up around our parks? Show him some dips. We can do that. Thanks, Kyle, very much. Hey, and y'all did a fantastic job on our roads. I'm telling you, this is for the amount of snow, for the dusting that we had, y'all did a fantastic job. Yeah. I mean, this is like next day, poof, cleared.
The dusting turned into 5 inches.
Yeah, well, I think I measured about 6.5 in mine. Yeah. It was y'all did a fantastic job.
Excellent. I'll pass that along to the crews. Thank you all.
Please do.
Next, Mr. Chairman, we have a presentation from Germanna Community College. Dr. Gullickson's here.
Good evening, gentlemen. May I distribute a little handout? I appreciate this opportunity to come before you and answer any questions you may have about our request. My understanding is that because our request is significantly larger than last year and we have some other kind of goodies thrown in, that you have some questions that we need to be sure to have answered for you. Before you see a pretty extensive presentation. I'm not going to go through that with you tonight, but I do invite you to look at it. Inside, you'll find out, for example, that 60% of our employees live in Spotsylvania County. Spotsylvania County is our largest provider of students. We train about half of the nurses that we turn out are from Spotsylvania County, and we appreciate all that you've done. I think that's something I probably should have started with. Spotsylvania County has been one of our, if not the biggest supporter of Germanna over the years, and we appreciate it very, very much. But we want the love to continue, please. And I'll tell you a little bit about what's happening. What we're doing is we're asking for the general operating funds that we always ask, and that's about 80-some thousand. But in addition, we're asking for construction money to build our Locust Grove facility, which we plan to begin. We have to have our money in hand, but we plan to begin construction on that in the next year. What we are asking Spotsylvania County to commit to, in addition to our general kind of operating funds, is $100,000 over the next 5 years to go toward the Locust Grove facility. The Locust Grove facility will be our health campus. It's going to be a replacement facility for our current building. It'll be torn down, the current building, and then it will be built. This new facility will be built. One of the things that we're trying to do is to drive our health programming to this site so that we don't try to recreate health programming all over our service area. And we're also, I should clarify, building some of our health programs in Stafford County as well. So the bottom line for us in terms of the ask that we have in front of you is really a re-upping of the commitment in some ways that you made, not last year, but the years previous to that, where you helped us with the building on the Spotsylvania campus. And this particular ask is for the Locust Grove Health Science building. I'm thinking that you might have some questions that you want me to address.
Any questions from the board? Mr. Skinner?
Yes, ma'am. Just a question. Would you explain again? You said you're going to have something torn down at the Locust Grove?
Yes, the current building will be torn down, demolished, and it will be replaced with the same amount of square footage in this new facility. And so this facility is considered a replacement facility rather than a brand new facility for that campus.
So over the years, let me ask you, what's going to happen is, so the building we'll put in place of the older building, are you going to shut that campus down while it's being built?
No, the good news is, and that's a great question, thank you, Mr. Skinner. The good news is the new facility will be built out in front, and so we can continue to operate the Locust Grove facility until that's torn down. One of the reasons for this ask, in addition to the fact, as you probably all know, that the Commonwealth does not fund past 5 feet of the building, and we are expected to do all the work around that. But the other thing that we want to point out is we really want to put high-state medical teaching equipment in this facility. For example, a simulation, I don't know what you call it. It's not a cadaver. It's not a body. It's a simulation machine. Costs, I don't know what else. Costs about $100,000 if you get one who really acts as the most like a human being. We would like to get a piece of equipment, if you would, that mimics a cadaver so that our students can have experiences with a cadaver without having a cadaver lab and dead bodies. That's another piece of high stakes kind of medical equipment that we need. Another thing is that we need to be prepared for telemedicine, the medicine of the future. There are lots of technology needs going into this building, which makes us have to ask for more money, to be honest.
Dr. Tramby.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This isn't really related to your budget request necessarily, but you mentioned one of the slides here has local health care skills gap. I've been reading reports from medical schools that they're seeing a real drop in applications, and particularly certain specialties have a real shortage. I was wondering if you're seeing that in those you train, nurses, physical therapists, pharmacists, and so forth. Have you seen anything like that?
No, and in fact, and I don't know, I have no data to support this, but in fact, I think we're probably getting increasing enrollment, and we are getting increasing enrollment. We have more applicants than we thought. We had 30 slots available in Stafford, and we got 100 applications just for those slots. But I think what's happening, to be honest, is that students are choosing community colleges because their debt burden is so much less than first if they start at university, and secondly if they go to medical school. So we are actually getting a pretty good caliber of students that may in the past had looked at the higher level health occupations, but just are discouraged by the amount of debt that they would accrue. We also, I should tell you, have some great articulation agreements where a student can come to Germanna and go directly into Mary Washington and get his or her bachelor's of nursing. We have the same agreement with Old Dominion, VCU. We have some very, very healthy, robust transfer agreements for students who want a bachelor's in nursing and not just an associate in nursing.
Mr. Ross?
That was actually going to be my question. So for the nursing program, it's a 2-year program, but then they can go to a follow-on like Mary Washington, and that would be another 2 years?
Yes. Mary Washington offers a bachelor's of nursing program. Mm-hmm. We do all the nursing courses. They do the general ed part.
Okay.
And it's a great relationship.
And then other than nursing, what other medical, I saw physical therapy, but what other medical fields do you specialize in?
Currently, we have career ladders all within nursing, so all the way from a CNA all the way up to a bachelor's of science in nursing. We also offer dental hygiene and dental assisting. We would love to offer, in partnership with other colleges, occupational therapy assistant. That's a big one. We would love to look at some of the grams, the electrocardiogram, the ultrasounds, the areas where you don't necessarily need a bachelor's degree, but the salaries are quite high. So some of those more technology-based health occupations isn't our areas we'd like to go into, and we hope to.
If the board has questions following this meeting, how can we reach out to you?
Absolutely, absolutely.
If Mark could give us your contact information.
I think he has me on speed dial.
Okay.
Or something, but
right. Thank you.
absolutely, because you might, and I'd be happy to come back as well.
Mr. Skinner?
I was going to ask you, can you explain how you work also with our local school division, please?
Yes, that has, I believe, and I've been told, it improved greatly in the last year or so. And what we are doing now is designing programming with the leaders of the school district so that students can take, actually what Dr. Baker would like is the first 2 years actually complete an associate's degree. We're just in conversations about that. We have 3 different alternative models that we're looking at. We're going to adopt one by the middle of January, so students at Spotsylvania High School could get, we hope, an associate's degree at the high school, or at the very least get the first year. We're also working with the career tech area because you know that your career tech center is quite packed and has a lot of demand. And so we're trying to bring some career tech lower division kind of coursework to the school district so that a student can get high school credit for it and credit for us as well. We were even talking a little bit, and this is not in stone at all, about is there a way we could bus students or get them to the main campus so that they can take more coursework. But I will say I've been invited to be part of the strategic planning group for the Spotsylvania county schools, and that's going very well. Like everyone else, we all just need the money. But I think we have ways to actually save money and get students to and through faster. So I'm very pleased with that relationship. It's going very well.
So you're just building just a newer building, same size, nothing bigger?
It's the same size, but it'll be very different in that it's 2 stories, 2 to 3 stories, depending on where you are in the building. And it's very technology focused. It's infrastructure-wise, it's the same amount of square footage, but in terms of a building, it's a whole new approach to healthcare to pretty much mirror what's going on in the marketplace right now.
So renovation, is that a question? I mean, if you come look at a couple of our elementary schools, that would date you on back.
Yeah, the problem is, I always find it interesting that people give a lifespan to a building which is shorter than your own lifespan, but most public buildings in states, and I don't know how counties are, but in states, are given a 30 to 50-year life cycle, and then the expectation is that you replace them. And so this building will be 50 years old. And it is a bit of a mess. It has, the HVAC is wrong. I bet there's asbestos in there. But sprucing it up won't work. And
Okay.
so it wasn't expected to last beyond this life cycle.
Okay. And then this is in Orange County, though, right? Lucas Grove campus is in
If you
Orange.
drive just down the road, you won't even notice you left Spotsylvania.
Oh, yeah, you will. I drove that for many years. I'm an alumna.
I am. It is about Orange County facility, but probably the majority of our students come from Spotsylvania.
Okay. All right. And Mr. Yakubowski.
Thank you. A couple of things. Number one, that building was old 25 years ago when I was there.
Yes.
So it's, yeah, I don't think you would want to repair it because it would look like a repaired old building. So is this request $100,000 a year per year for 5 years?
That's correct.
Okay.
And then less than $100,000 that we have been asking for operating in addition.
Okay, so it's an additional 100 a year per 5 years. Okay, so it's a commitment for 5 years is what
That's
you're looking
correct.
for. Okay. The other studies that are out there, would they be eliminated at that campus, and this would be primarily a advanced health center, or would the other?
Yes, that's our expectation, is
Okay.
that we would move, it would be our destination health campus, and we would actually take what we're doing in associate's degrees and put more towards Fredericksburg, whereas our Spotsylvania campus, which is where the action is anyway, in terms of our associate's degree, and then some towards Culpeper
Okay, so you're
in
trying
the
to.
associate's area.
Okay, so, and this is spaced in between the two, mainly to draw from Culpeper and do work with the hospital out there, and the hospital's here too. Is there a reason why you're not moving this health center to Spotsylvania as opposed to the Locust Grove campus?
I don't know if you're familiar with this concept, but it's called politics. And the political will of, I don't know, maybe you've encountered
Never
it.
heard
But
of it.
to take a campus, and actually that is the only facility we have on the campus, and to move it into Spotsylvania probably is not prudent for us, given that is the main campus on paper for us.
Oh.
The other thing I will say is we have plans for 2 more buildings on the Spotsylvania site, and would love to see, for example, maybe more career technical education on that site, maybe more classrooms because we run out of classrooms. So we do have a master plan for that site as well that maybe would be helpful sometime for me to come back and share.
Oh, yeah, no, I was just wondering why this site for this as opposed to but obviously you have plans for the site in Spotsylvania.
Absolutely.
And so you need that there. And yes, I do get the politics part of it. I have to be friendly with 3 other members to get that 4th vote many times. So.
Well, they seem friendly.
Oh, they are.
Yeah.
It's going well tonight. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But yeah, it's still early. But anyway, those are really my questions. So I'll take a look at this. But thank you very much. Appreciate it.
And I would assume I'll be back in March too, as well, for the actual budget request.
Have you done your presentations to the other counties yet?
No, you're our first.
Okay. All right. What were we funding you for prior to this?
Well, this year, I think it's on here, it was 87. Let's see. 89. This year you gave us $89,000, a little over. But this present year, you had already paid off the final of our science building, and so you went 1 year without the additional ask for about $175,000. So you were giving us about $175,000, I think that's pretty close, a year for our science building to build that. That mortgage was paid off. You're done with that. There was a gap year, and now we're coming back to ask for a Locust Grove facility.
I was wondering about that because the first thing I saw when I was going through the budget my first year, I think it was more, I want to say it was like 260 something that I saw in the budget materials that we were giving you, and it had been over a period of time. And I thought we were free of that, and now you're knocking on the door again.
We're like
all right.
We're like a mother-in-law. We never go away.
Very familiar. I like mine.
I hope my son-in-law likes his too.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate all your support.
Next, we have the presentation from the YMCA. Here we are.
Mr. Chairman, members of the Board of Supervisors, Mr. Taylor. My name is Barney Riley. I serve as the CEO for the Rappahannock Area YMCA's. I'm here tonight with Elizabeth Taylor, our Chief Operating Officer, Scott Edson, our Executive Director at Spotsylvania. Spotsylvania has been with the Y, Spotsylvania Y, Ron Rosner Y, for 15 years. And we have 2 members of our Board of Directors, Bruce Mogensen and Joey Kirchner. So we're happy to have them and their support. I'm here to talk about a little bit about the Y's vision for the future. Give you a progress report on the 15 years of the Y in Spotsylvania. We had very humble beginnings. We've had a wonderful partnership and relationship with the Board of Supervisors dating back to 2001. I can remember being here as a younger man and a little slimmer when we had T.C. Waddy and Mr. Emmett Marshall, Mary Lee Carter, Jerry Logan, and a wonderful group of the other board members I can't recall, but we've had a rich heritage of service with the Board of Supervisors. Look at Mr. Yakubowski, and it's good to see Mr. Ross and Gary Skinner have helped us continue this rich heritage of service. We started in 2003, and we had a wonderful partnership with Spotsylvania. I believe at that time the Spotsylvania board had several town hall meetings, and at the top of the list, or near the top anyway, a kind of community center kept surfacing. And many times people went as far and said a YMCA. And that began the dialogue of building a Y in Spotsylvania County. I've had a blessing, and it's been great. I've worked with the Y full-time for 36 years. And we started in South Stafford, and this was our first foray into establishing an association, if you will, was in the beautiful county of Spotsylvania. So we began dialogue in early 2000. We went out and we were able to secure 20 acres as a gift from the Spotsylvania board, and we located the Y in 2003. Today, we have over 2,000 billing units. That translates to over 9,000 members in Spotsylvania. And we couldn't be happier with the 15 years of progress that we've had. Our mission, we are a nonprofit. We are located here in Spotsylvania County off Smith Station Road. is to enhance and increase the quality of life of everyone. We're proud of our rich heritage of service of working with senior citizens, working with youth, working with families, working with individuals, individuals and children and adults with special needs, with disabilities. That is a group and a contingent of people that we're very, very proud that we work with. Many times those individuals are left out. If you go to any one of our branches, let's just talk about Ron Rosner. You'll see the buses and the children that are let off on the ramps that are in wheelchairs. And every week we are programming and doing activities with those people who may otherwise not have an outlet. So we're very proud of this heritage of service, and we want to see it continue to grow. We also have the special needs classes that we work with. So not only do they come and utilize the facility, we actually have a structured curriculum. We have a lot of programs for adults. We know that that's a growing contingent, and while there is viable and good competition in the area, we're very proud that we have access for our adults. We have a lot of synergy and a lot of programs for families. A wife can come and take a Zumba class, a father can be working out in the wellness center, and the children can be in the kids zone. So we try to create that synergy so when they come and they can maximize their time together and that there's something for everyone. We're also very proud. We have a good relationship over the years with Mary Washington Hospital, and we hope to embark and extend this to Spotsylvania Healthcare. We have a great partnership where we do a host of therapeutic classes. We have classes for Parkinson's. We have classes for diabetes. We have post-stroke. We have cardiac rehab, where we're working in conjunction in concert with the hospital and the other experts in this field. And the YMCA is serving as the conduit to enhance and expedite and exponentially increase visibility and open to many people. We're also very proud of a key component of our mission statement. While I'm very fond of our competition, I think American Family, Gold's Gym, they do a stellar job and they certainly have their niche in this community. But I'm very proud of our financial assistance. Every day while we're talking here tonight, there could be a family at the Ron Rosner branch that is getting a tour that may not possess the ability to pay that $120, $130 membership at another club. If they have the ability to pay $50 and that's all they can afford to pay, that's all they're going to afford to pay. In many cases, we have many families, many adults, many senior citizens that just do not possess the capacity financially to pay. And in those cases, they don't pay anything. The YMCA has not turned down anyone despite their inability to pay. Last year in the Planning District 16, we awarded almost $1 million in financial assistance. We call that our Open Doors program, and we are extremely proud of that rich heritage of service. The YMCA prides itself on being financially viable. We're on, by the very nature of being a nonprofit, it can be a slippery slope. We don't have long-term contracts. We don't receive, while we get grants and we try to partner and receive some funding, we are self-supportive, and I think that is something to be very proud of. When I started, I transitioned from programming in 1993. We had a $500,000 budget. And then today we're approximately a little north of $13 million, and we operate in the black. We're financially viable and stable, and we are expanding more and more. And I know you all know that we started in South Stafford, which, by the way, is the largest Y in the state of Virginia now, the Dr. Lewis B. Massett branch. Then our first branch, which we're very proud of, is the Spotsylvania branch, which opened in 2003. Then in 2008, we opened the King George branch, and then in 2013, the Caroline branch. And what was the common denominator in each one of these counties? In the comprehensive plan in the town hall meetings, many of the people in the county said, we need a community center. We need a type of YMCA with a wellness center, with a pool for our high schools, with a pool so people can rehab hips and knees and exercise and take therapeutic classes. We need a gymnasium for the children. We need classes. And so what happened was, and this case was brought by Steve Griffin back in 2002 and Doug Walker, two of you, you're a very capable staff. We projected out and said, what would it cost to build the YMCA in Spotsylvania County? And at that time, we hit pretty close on those. It was about $3.5 million. And we projected out $1 million budget and what that would be over a 20-year period. And so it made sense for these counties to help the YMCA, who felt like this was a very substantial need, a community center YMCA for its citizens. So it made sense to help the YMCA on the front end, and then we take it over operationally, and there's no operational expense to the county ad infinitum, and we are achieving the goals of the county with respect to the citizens' desires of having a healthy outlet. So, and this started with Stafford County and Spotsylvania. You all helped us incredibly back in 2003 with 20 wonderful acres in the midst of Patriot Park. And we hope to deliver and continue this service for you all. We help to expand, and you can see right up here, we are looking to expand as we speak. We've broken ground, as you know, and we are building 2 racquetball courts, a spinning room, an aerobics room, a functional training room, and then a steam and sauna for adult men and women with a commercial spa, and then some classrooms and storage. This will give us another leg up to continue to meet the demands of our growing contingency here in Spotsylvania. And we have big dreams. I mean, you all availed us the opportunity to be in the midst of Patriot Park with 20 incredible acres. And we would like to continue to grow this facility, to possibly add a 3rd gym, to possibly one day add an outdoor public pool, and get your all's input and the people and to see where we should go next. But we have a tremendous upside to this partnership that you all started years ago. I hope that you're proud of the results. We have, the Y has no hidden agenda. It's a 501c3 nonprofit. Its whole sole goal is to improve the quality of life of everyone. And we hope to continue that work, and we're not done. This is a great county. I also want to, I tell this to all the boards that I meet, and I've met with a lot of boards over my career, is, you know, I appreciate the work that you do. You guys are in the trenches every day. You're rolling up your sleeve. You're making the hard decisions, and sometimes it's a thankless job. And I always say that many people reap the fruit of the seed sown by others. I think you guys do a great job. I believe in my heart that you have the best interests of the people. I can't think of a better entity. I didn't grow up in Hawaii. I grew up in Northern Virginia in a well-funded recreation department. It wasn't till I came down to Fredericksburg that I saw the totality of the YMCA, the fact that it paints with such a broad brush in terms of helping others, that it really resonated with me. And I had several aha moments that have kept me here part-time since 1981, full-time since '84, because I see how important it is for especially the people that don't have the wherewithal to pay the country club and the other prices, that it is really a good thing. So I want to thank you all for helping us. I'm going to turn some of the programs over that Elizabeth can do a much better job than I can. Elizabeth's our COO. She's been with us since 1993. She ran my youth department at the Massett branch in the 90s, and then took over the helm at the King George Y as the executive director, and has done an outstanding job. But I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge the hard work of Scott Edson. If any of you know Scott, he is a tireless worker. He has impeccable skills that have allowed us to continue to run a tight ship at Spotsylvania. So Scott, I really appreciate your work. And with that, I'll let Elizabeth take over here.
There we go. Okay. First of all, expansion, what's that going to mean here in the county? One of the things that I heard you guys talking passionately about is your staff, your county employees. And we've partnered with several organizations, and expansion means opportunities. It just doesn't mean an opportunity to exercise. It means a wellness opportunity. And when I mean that, it's about coming together and about forming a partnership so that we can provide programs for your staff, providing a deduction in their membership dues, an employee wellness program that is encompassing where you have your own assigned YMCA training coach here for your employees, on-site classes, also wellness initiatives. We have our own app where you can have your own group of your county employees. These are things we've done with other counties and other organizations, and we have seen some great results. We have seen that they have lower insurance rates. They also have a better staff morale. They also better productivity, and their staff is healthier. We all want to be healthier. And people always say when I listen to people, they're always like, well, they say just exercise. And yes, exercise is wonderful, but it's more than that. It's a wellness journey, and we want to be part of that wellness journey. So I'm going to give you some statistics that I'm going to throw out to you. Diabetes. Diabetes is a big problem in our country. 86 million people have pre-diabetic. That means they have not been diagnosed with diabetes. Just to give you a cost, because we like cost, it's somebody that has pre-diabetes, it's about $3,700 a year for them. They become a diabetic, it goes up to $20,000 a year. That's the difference in keeping somebody from going into full diabetes. It's really important because when they do these programs, we can reduce the number of new cases with our YMCA program by 58%, and that's huge in our counties. We also want to make sure that we have a blood pressure monitoring program. We all know that blood pressure is important to watch, and we come on site where they can come and we can do their blood pressure and make sure that they're staying healthy and talk about how can they reduce stress factors. What can we do as a Y to help this person on their journey? And also we provide leadership and team building activities. We have a lot of fun with this. It's fun to come into a class where you guys are having a program and we can provide some fun leadership where they are learning and they are having a good time and they're learning that they can be healthy and have a good time at the same time. All of this is provided to you as part of being a partner here. And as we expand our expansion program, you can see that we have a lot of different areas. One of the areas I want to point out to you is the handicapped accessible restroom. We have a lot of people who have mobility issues and need this type of environment, and this is going to help them out significantly. It says an aerobics room, but it's not just an aerobics room. That's where you're going to have therapeutic programs for our Parkinson's classes. We have a large population of people with Parkinson that comes to the Y to work out and to get stronger and to reduce their dependence on medication. Cycling is, again, a great area for people with mobility issues. They can get on a cycle. They might not be able to get on a treadmill. And also just offering that functional training where a family can come together, or somebody that's working with post-stroke, or also working with an adult that just wants different exercise options. Those are all going to be provided through this expansion. So this expansion's not just about exercise. It's about a wellness journey that the YMCA can be certainly a part of in your county, and not just for your county, but for your county employees. So we really appreciate the fact that you've been a partner, you've been there, you've seen our programs, you've just been a great help, and we want to continue that partnership throughout the years. Oh, Barney disappeared. You want to go ahead? I'm going to let Barney go ahead and close up. And if you guys have any questions, please let us know. We would love to answer them. I know that we've thrown a lot of information here at you, but we're excited about this, excited about what we're going to be able to do in the county.
And I just want to, again, thank you for all your help over the years, and it's been a great 15 years, and we hope that the next 15 will see very positive growth and results and exponentially increase the amount of people we work with. So thank you all very much, and you guys have a great Christmas. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the board? Mr. Ross.
I just want to thank you guys, too. It's been a pleasure being on the board. I don't know how many, couple of years here, and I do see there is no hidden agenda except for serving the community. That's all I see. That's all I've seen. And Bruce back there, Joey, thank you, Scott, leading all those meetings, the direction, and every time it's a sincere heart that I see there that has a heart for our community, and I'm grateful for it as a resident of Spotsylvania County. So thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Ross.
Thank you.
Well, I got to go ahead, Mr. Yakubowski.
Thank you. To echo that, yes, thank you for everything that you all do. And just to let the board know that this is coming before us for budget season next year of the expansion that you're doing, and just to show the partnership that the county has had that goes back a decade and a half, and how we have worked well together that piece of land that was out there that was bought, and talked with previous board members about it, of how that was purchased when everybody said, don't buy it, it's not worth it. But the previous board had a vision of buy it, because we're not sure what to do with it just yet, but we know that we will have needs in the future. And it has produced a Y, an elementary school, and Patriot Park. So, you know, planning for the future is not a bad thing. And especially in this case, it really has paid off well. And so going to the meetings and over the past year and getting to know you all a lot better, knowing that the investment that is made in the Y really resounds into our community multiple times that we really can't quantify. And so I think that it is a very good partnership, and I look forward to going through the budget season and seeing what comes out of it too.
Thank you, Mr.
So thank you.
Thank you.
I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
And so you wouldn't be here if you didn't want something. How much you want?
Well, you know, we would like to sit down and talk with you. I don't want to, you know, we would like to foster this relationship and possibly humbly request that you entertain a gift to help us with this expansion, and more importantly, this wellness program that we would like to embark on and take to another level for not only the citizens of Spotsylvania, as Elizabeth alluded to, but the employees. So I would humbly request a possible, pursuant to this meeting, a venue where we could maybe talk about this, if that would be all right. But you're right.
We can talk, but we certainly need to make it public eventually.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And I'll just say, you know, I like the Y. I was a member years ago. Not a member now, sorry. How do you determine somebody's ability to pay?
Well, there's a sliding fee scale based on their income, and even and I believe we start at 60,000 and work down with the sliding. So if you're at 60,000, we would hope that you would have the ability to pay. However, there are always extenuating circumstances where we look at that. Someone may make 80,000, but for some reason they've had an accident in their family, and there's just extenuating circumstances that we allow ourselves the ability to try to get them in the door so they can begin, you know, to have, you know, improve the quality of life. But since you asked me not to go, does that? And so we do have a very methodical, you know, practice to evaluate someone's financial, and we do start with a sliding fee scale, and I believe it's at 60,000, and then we always allow ourselves to look at extenuating circumstances. You know, if someone may make above that, but just doesn't have the capacity, and they need the YMCA. And again, to the best of my knowledge, we have never turned down anyone, certainly in our Open Doors program.
But 60,000, you know, it puts a big bulk of our county employees and teachers, seeing how we're make so much.
And we're going to revisit that because that may need to be elevated. But I can tell you that we always have a component of our interview that sits and just discusses and you know, what their situation is and what they can afford. That's always, what can they afford? This is where we fit right here with this salary, and what can you afford? And then we go from there. So that's a big part of the discussion.
Okay.
But did you want me to, you know, talk about because we were hoping, we were hoping that this board would consider a gift of $200,000 to the expansion and the wellness program over several years, a 3-year period.
Okay. No, I figured you had something in mind that you wanted.
We did, and to be all honest, we did.
Well, let me just hit you with. I'll now hit you with a few things.
Sure.
Sort of extend this any further. But you know, you have a good business model and everything, and you know, if you wanted money just for the male Parkinson's and health and wellness, I could understand maybe helping you out, and that's kind of dear to my heart because my father passed from complications that you get from Parkinson's. So I'm very well, you know, saw him from just a very smart, intellectual person, very outgoing and involved in the community, to basically bedridden. So,
I'm sorry.
but anyway, so product, if you're coming and selling that to us, I could actually see, but I don't think it's county money that should be involved with a racquetball court and cycling, and if that's going to be your expansion, though. I can't see spending money on, and this is just Greg Benton telling you.
Yes, sir. I understand, and that's why what we would like to really do is sit down and talk to you about the wellness program that we want, the therapeutic programs, the Parkinson's, I would invite all of you to come to the Massive branch and see members of the Parkinson class and the diabetes prevention class and the post-stroke and the individuals that are just. See, another issue is in many cases the hospital do not have the ability to continue the care, and what served as the genesis for this partnership was with the Mary Washington was, number one, our footprint expanded into the whole entire, it overlapped theirs in the Planning District 16, but also the advent of the fact that where someone after a hip replacement may have had our Parkinson treatment, maybe had access to 15 therapeutic sessions, now it's been cut in half, and so they wanted a handoff where we're working very closely with the hospital exactly what the plan is, what the health curriculum is, and so we're working in concert with the hospital now in these areas so that while their ability to service them after an initial treatment has been cut in half, the YMCA is, in working with the hospital, is continuing this at our branches, and that's certainly an area that we like to discuss with you, as well as a wellness program for just the citizens of Spotsylvania and the employees.
Okay. Well, just to give you, you may want to consider going before, submitting an application to the Social Services Advisory Board as a member of that, and that's part of our responsibilities is to kind of decide on some graded, curriculum. We grade each one that comes in as far as the needs and how it benefits Spotsylvania County, and then we make decisions on the amounts of donations that we make. It's various, Sika and some of the others, Goodwill.
And in pure disclosure, the page that Elizabeth spoke to, the wellness, that is the area that we were really looking to pursue funding.
Okay.
So I totally understand if I was in your shoes why I would not be an advocate of funding for bricks and mortar. That makes total sense. Right. And I was incorrect, so I apologize.
Right. Well, that's what I was. No, I thought that was what I was trying to be sold on, so that's why I wanted to ask these questions.
I agree with you 100%.
And also, as you look at what we're doing, as we expand, we're also going to be offering more of those programs. At the Ron Rosner branch, our therapeutic programs, the classes are just becoming more and more. We don't have enough room. People with mobility issues don't have a lot of places to go, and the Y is the place where they can go. So the additions that you see up there, like the aerobics room, that says an aerobics room. It's really a group fitness room that we use for so many different things, and we need that extra space for our therapeutic areas. And as the racquetball courts, you see racquetball, but we see volleyball with special needs. We see summer day camps in there. We see them using that for walking around with people with, we use those racquetball courts in so many different ways. You give us a little bit of room and we will turn it into an amazing program. But we see more and more of people with diabetes, mobility issues, MS, cancer, when they're going through cancer, we're with them, post-stroke, because their insurance runs out and the Y becomes that gap. So all that functional training room, it's not just about people who have the ability. When you look at the Y, a lot of it is about people who have disabilities, and we need to be there for them. And I want to be able to offer them the state-of-the-art place where they can come in and feel valued and know that they have the room to move. Right now, we're moving them into, we're trying to put them into a classroom at some point. Oh, and then we're going to have the class over here because we're running out of space. And that is how large this therapeutic population is becoming in the counties.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, and to her point, to give you an example, the racquetball courts, if you're familiar with volleyball, our special populations, individuals with disabilities, they play with a beach ball, a very light ball, and it's amazing. All of a sudden, a game that you think, oh, how are they going to do this and navigate? All of a sudden, they're all hitting the beach ball because it's so soft, and the next thing you know, everyone's engaged. The functional training room. In many cases, we have clientele that are just getting back, that may be in their 70s, 80s, hip, knee, we're just trying to walk again and balance. And the TRX, holding on with a band, and just so they can balance them. So just quality of life issues. That's the new area that we're going into, to help individuals with every need possible. And I'll stop, but one of the fastest growing contingents of our membership is our senior citizens. Many people are being told to get into a resistance training program just to enhance bone density. Many people need to rehab a hip or knee and came and maybe because of the pool. But many people from there find the biggest upside to the why is the fellowship. Many of these individuals, unfortunately, because they've told me they had a lonely life, and the fact that their doctor told them to go to the Y for this or that, it's opened up because there's so many other senior citizens. And from there, we have group discussions. They go out to lunch. We have a program that's done extremely well at Ron Rosner under Scott's leadership called AOA. Active Older Adults. And it's amazing. And it just gets them together where they talk about issues and they go have lunch.
And play pickleball.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, pickleball.
Well, thank you.
But
when we do sit down and talk again, I will want some numbers as far as your participation on that stuff. And
okay.
All right. Thank you for
all
the presentation.
very much.
Next up, Mr. Chairman, is a presentation on a claim submitted by Brian and Jean DeVoter. This is for the board's consideration, and I'm going to turn to Carl for a brief comment.
Mr. Chairman, members of the board, before you now is a claim submitted to the board by Brian and Jean DeVoter on October 18th, 2018. This is for payment for damages they claim were caused by water flowing from a storm sewer pipe on a property across the street from them. The claim submitted total $26,492.50. Now is an opportunity, if the DeVoters are here, to come present to the board. The board can certainly ask them questions if the board desires. After that, I would recommend a motion to continue the consideration of the matter till after closed session, during which your counsel can provide you the evaluation of the claim as required by law. And with that, I will open it up for the DeVoters, if they are here, to come and present to the board.
Since we got movement, I think we're here.
And I will add that the documents that they did submit should be attached to your board packets.
Floor is yours.
Me to start out? Okay. My name is Doug Craig. I live in Waverly Village, 3529. I'm also an officer of the Waverly Village Civic Association, and we sort of got behind Gene and Steve's problem here because the county is having a lot of problems fixing this problem that they started. And one of the problems of the problem that they have is the county has put a pipe that's gushing water from development upstream or up the hill from them, and the water's coming across the road, flooding their yard, and it's been going on for several years. The pipe was put in 2006, okay, in that area, and the DeVoters have not been here. When did you first get here?
2014.
2014, and since they've been here, they had to replace two driveway entranceways due to the damage, and it was necessary. They had to do it because they had to drive the car in. On two occasions they did that. The damage that came after that was to their yard, where they couldn't plant their grass and cultivate their front yard, and their front yard is receding due to the heavy rains down in through their ditches. The ditches are now probably about, I would say, 6,
2 to 3 feet.
maybe 4 to 5 feet, okay? And they're increasing. Their pipes are going underneath their pipes in their driveway is what's happening. They're asking for payment for what they had to spend to replace those things. Also, they want to do some work as far as a retaining wall, filling in the ditches, getting in cement in there, which they've got an estimate for. I don't think it was in their package, but I did find that if from Spratt, it's for $13,630, I believe. Right. They added an estimate in there, I noticed in their proposal for you to repay their costs. That's basically it. We don't want to talk about, I don't want to talk about, they don't want to talk about the pipe, okay? That was presented to the board in 2016, okay? And the board pretty much admitted, okay, yes, it is a county's problem, and you actually appropriated monies to fix it, okay? We're sure that the county is going to fix it, okay? We don't have any problem with that. That's not what we're here for. We're here to get some sort of reprieve for the monies that we did spend, okay, due to that problem. We're understand the problem the county is having fixing it, okay. We're very understanding to that, but we're not understanding to the fact that we can't keep this up. As Steve pointed out, it's going to happen again, okay. The last thing they did was they put in boundaries on their driveway. Those are now actually beginning to cave again, like the brick ones did before. So last time I presented this, had the opportunity to present it to the board, I told you that you're going to have to do something as far as you can't keep paying us, okay? We can't keep fixing this thing, okay? So as part of the Waverly Village Community Association, we're behind her, and this is, I think it's a reasonable request that they put in, okay? We reviewed it, and she's asked me to do two things. She said she'll answer any question, and the other thing is, she says, what would you do if this is your home? What would you do if this was happening to your home? That's a good question, Jeannie. And what it's doing is really tearing down her property value, okay? Who would want to buy that house? Okay, so that's what we're asking. And Jeannie, you want to say anything else?
I know that we went ahead and we did the work because we had to. And in the short time since the end of July until now, on the right-hand side pulling into the driveway, it's already starting to sink again. And we went, it's not what we wanted. We wanted to have what we had originally, the brick walls, and but we figured it wouldn't pay off to do this now because of the problems that are across the street. We know that we didn't fix our problem, but we had to do something, and we know that it's not going to be a permanent fix until you all do what you've got to do for ours to be fixed permanently. So it's going to be money out of our pocket constantly, and we're not sure where to go from this point. So that's why we need your help.
Mr. Ross?
So thank you for coming out, and thank you for presenting your claim. So Doug, you've lived in your location before that pipe was built, correct?
Yes.
So I know we're not here to talk about the pipe, but I know it's been a while since it got briefed. Mm-hmm. But the pipe was a result of a water issue that was created when Governor's Green subdivision was built. Is that correct?
Yes, it's part of the Tier 1 project to correct the drainage problem in Governor's Green.
And that was done by the county. I think you FOIA'd the county, and that information came back.
Yes, I have it here. They tried to. Governor's Green was having a very bad drainage problem. They still are, as far as basements and everything. And what they did was combine some drains in Governor's Green, pushed the water down to Waverly Village, got permission to go through our development because it was not on the original plat, and when the water started, okay, they could not contain it, okay? We could not contain it in our drainage ditches, so it flooded over into their area. Yes, the county did that as, it was a good project they undertook. It was just unintended consequences,
Sure.
That's all.
And I'm just going to ask your opinion. in your opinion, there would be no damage to the devoter property if those pipes weren't there today?
Absolutely none. No,
Right.
that's the damage. The water. It would be very simple to do. Turn that water off, and you'd see there would be no problem. Okay, but when it comes through there, I wish you could see it.
Well, I was going to ask you if you, or the devoters, if you would explain what it is like when it's raining hard and what those two pipes put out. So if you could describe it, I think I've actually seen it before myself.
I've sent pictures and videos. When we have rain that really comes down, or not even real hard, but if it continues, the two pipes that are across the street that are very large, the water will come gushing out across the street into our ditch, and in return, it's going downwards also in our yard, which is eroding the dirt underneath around the pipes and the sides of the ditch. And then when it gets too full, then it's coming up into the yard, and then of course it's gone back down, and it's taken anything that we tried to have done. We tried to have it reseeded and all to help with the erosion. And the water gets so deep, the cars come up very slowly. It has come up as far as the middle of my yard. But it's a rushing water. It doesn't just go slowly, it's a rushing water. It's like cannonballs shooting through these big pipes. So,
if I could get you some idea, the pipes come out and there's a drainage ditch going down that is lined with cement. The water does flow through there, but it flows so fast that it goes through there and it goes across the street. It actually shoots across into her yard.
I've got some pictures from Google Maps that I just pulled up of the two pipes that I'll show the rest of the board.
it gets fairly deep.
It basically, from the pictures I've seen and being there, it creates a mini pond right in front of your house, in your driveway, in your ditch. Yep.
And like I said, from the storms that we have had and doing our driveway, the short time that we have it, if you were to look, the right side towards the road, it's all eroding because they put asphalt there to try to preserve it. The dirt has been washing out. The asphalt is still there, but underneath is already coming out. So it hasn't been that long.
I'd like to mention one little fact too, that this has occurred 9 times this year already. Okay, it's quite frequent.
Where it's created the pond and just been gushing out.
Mr. Skinner?
Are these roads accepted by the state?
Yes.
I mean, I have some problems like that over in my district, and I would think maybe.
We have brought up the VDOT, and also our staff's been looking at it for quite some time. I think that's the permanent fix that they're talking about, but we haven't been able to resolve it yet.
Okay.
How long have you lived here?
We moved in April of 2014.
Right.
And everybody's been really great to us when we asked about it. And they did try to relieve the ditch from holding water. They've really been good about it, but the problem's not fixed, and it is causing a lot of.
Who's they?
VDOT, and they came out, and they've been a big help to us.
Right. I mean, so I guess I take it you're in a lower portion of the subdivision.
Not really.
Kind of up on a hill.
It's not really the issue, Mr. Benton. The issue is the pipe that's throwing water out right there.
You've got 2 neighborhoods going into one part.
Yep.
Well, it didn't help that we had the largest rainfall in like 500 years for this area.
But this has been going on since we moved in.
Were the pipes there when you moved in?
Yes, they were. And when we bought the house, people, because we talked to the neighbors and all, we were told that the problem was being worked on. So we just figured it would be taken care of in a reasonable time.
But you bought a house knowing there was some issues.
I didn't know the issues were that severe at that particular time. We didn't know that until we had the first good rainfall. Then we start seeing, then the damage got worse over the years. We've been there for going on 5 years now, and a lot of damage.
Do you have some prior pictures of damage that?
We submitted all the pictures, I believe, that when the storms take place, and I think they go back to 2016.
You don't, I mean, you have some pictures where
you have
you showed where you reseeded and grass was coming up and all of a sudden it's flooded and you don't have any seed and.
Where's your phone?
She has receipts for where she paid for the people to maintain her yard, yes.
I have the receipt.
I mean, I'm trying to be straight.
Yeah,
I mean, I can go have somebody reseed my yard and then say something, you know, when my creek floods,
No, they,
wash it away when it really.
I've got the receipts and all that. It was done and even put on more on a slant so it would stay kind of out of from coming up in the yard.
And Mr. Benton, I have personally been to the property at least 2 times when it's been flooded out, and it's crazy.
I don't doubt. Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, and David, have you looked at, I had the same problem over before we had some, have you looked at the division up on top that's causing this water to come down? Is there anything they can do to control up in the upper
That would
division?
really be up to VDOT and our county staff.
Okay, because it did work. We had a road and the entire lane would flood, but we went up and we looked at the, Troy was out there with me one day, too. We're looking at this, and there's ways to maybe slow it down up higher so that the amount of water may not be as drastic as it is.
I would definitely ask staff to do that again. Ed, I think you've looked at it several times.
Okay.
So.
Okay.
Is there anything else that you can think of? Can you tell me the hardship this has caused you, or for the rest of the board?
Well, now I have the reason we went ahead and had it fixed is because I brought my mother down to move in with us in April. She likes to go get the mail. And because it gets unbalanced, lost her balance. And she is now 93 years old. And so now we don't allow her to go down to the mailbox because we're not sure how, you know, after rain what it's going to do until we get it all checked out. And not only that, the children would come into the driveway or play on the walls that were the brick walls, which were being pushed out from the heavy rains. And so that was a danger. And so we took it down for that reason, more for my mother and the children. But then when the water also stays in the ditch during the summer, it draws a lot of mosquitoes and insects that you all know, which isn't healthy. And my husband being sick, he doesn't need to be around all the mosquitoes and everything. He stays in at night because he can't afford to get an infection of any nature. So
How many times have you replaced the wall now?
we replaced the wall just this past August.
Is that all the time?
Yes, because we were waiting to see what y'all were going to do to fix it, to fix the problem. And so we kept holding off, and then in July, we had a storm come through, and when we first moved in, between the wall and the driveway may have been a little gap, but by the time we had to have it removed, there was a gap between the driveway and the wall because the force of the water, it kept pushing it. So it had to be fixed.
Well, why did you replace the brickwork when the problem hadn't been resolved and you knew something was going to happen again?
Because of the danger of the wall, we went and put boards, 6x6s in.
Yeah.
For one, for safety reasons, and for another, it looked pretty bad. And we wanted to try to at least keep it looking decent, even though we knew we weren't going to be fixing it. It wasn't a permanent fix. We had to do something.
Okay.
Because my son-in-law, he went down the driveway in his truck, and because there was such a wide gap between the driveway and where the wall has been pushed out, of course, he drove right into that little ditch. So that it was becoming a hazard.
Okay. Any other questions from the board? All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So we need a motion to continue until after the closed door, Carl?
Yes, Mr. Ross. Also, I would also recommend, if I may, that the voters stick around until, after the closed session in case the board needs to communicate at all with them, through the process, if they're able to.
Okay.
But yes, a motion would be in order to continue the matter until past closed session.
Okay, I make that motion.
All right, motion by Mr. Ross to hold off on any decision with the voters till after closed session. Mr. Yakubowski?
Aye.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Aye.
Mr. Ross?
Aye.
Mr. Skinner?
Aye.
Mr. Marshall?
Aye.
Dr. Trampy?
Aye.
And Chair's aye. And Mr. and Mrs. Devoted, you did hear the attorney? Okay, thank you.
Next, Mr. Chairman, board members, we have updates on 2 business corridor studies, the Route 1 and 208 study and the Route 2 and 17 study.
All right, the floor is yours.
Right. Good evening, Chairman Benton, members of the board. We have a presentation today on the concluding efforts of 2 of our corridor studies, the 1 in 208 and 2 in 17B. I have with me Karzan Behelden and John Riley. Some of you may be familiar with some of the material from previous Transportation Committee meetings. The Transportation Committee, along with VDOT, provided oversight on both of these studies. And both studies were funded through revenue sharing. And as a result of the work that was done by JMT, we are able to submit 3 projects for smart scale funding, which are currently under review by VDOT. And I'm going to turn it over now to Karzan and JMT.
First, I'm John Riley. I'll give a brief introduction and let Karzan take it from there, Mr. Chair and members of the board.
Is your microphone lit, sir? Please press the button. Thank you.
There we go. Thank you. John Riley with Johnson, Miramaran, and Thompson. I'm the project manager for these corridor studies, and thank you for having us here tonight. We got a brief presentation to go over what's been nearly 2 years of work now. A lot of work behind the scenes. And Mr. Chair, members of the board, and Mr. Taylor, we're appreciative of this time. Having been practicing transportation nearly 20 years in the Commonwealth and conducting many studies up in this area, I'm aware the subjects of these studies, the Massaponax Interchange and Route 2 and 17, have been studied a lot. And what Mr. Cole alluded to is that we've actually got some projects that we're trying to move forward. And it was good to see earlier tonight there are other projects underway. Finally, some pieces of the puzzle are falling into place. So we have a full-service team that's been looking at this, not just traffic, but also environmental issues, structural issues, drainage issues as well. And I'm pleased now to turn it over to Karzan Behelden with the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Good evening, everyone, Mr. Chairman and board members. I'm going through those 2 corridor studies in parallel because they are similar in the nature. The nature of these 2 studies are in more showing the graphics. So what you see mostly is included in the reports. So to start with the presentation, I'm going to give you a background about the boundary of the 2 corridors and what's the objective of those 2 studies and how we approach those 2 studies, and the projects that came up from those 2 studies that was submitted for funding. The 2 projects, the Route 217, that's what we call it, and also Route 1208, the northeast of the county. It's the Route 1208 is basically the intersection of Route 1 and 208, and 217 is parallel to about Route 1. Route 217 has about 5.5 miles. It's a north-south corridor that has been classified as a minor arterial. It's undivided, mainly the northern portion. We have some 2-way left turn lanes. As you see, the traffic is heavier in the northern portion, from 24,000 vehicles per day all the way to 5,600. And based on that, of course, the speed is starting from 35 all the way to 55 miles per hour south of US 17. And these red dots are 5 major intersections, signalized intersections that we focused on them for the study. Similarly, the Route 1208 is the intersection of 1 and Route 1 and 208. We also included the intersection of Germana Point Drive with US 17 and Hospital Drive. The reason behind that is we try to study a connector, which I'm going to talk about. Because of the nature of this intersection, it includes this corridor, it includes 9 major intersections, and it has different level of classification, different speeds, different ADTs or traffic volumes. The objective of those 2 studies is mainly driven by the increasing demand of traffic in the area, and our roadway capacity is at the same level. With that, it lead to have safety issues. It will also impact the efficiency of the other modes of transportation, and also impacts the economic growth in the area. So the objective is to have a balance between the roadway capacity and also the increasing demand to improve safety, to serve all the modes of transportation, and of course to encourage the economic growth in the area. How we approach this study is basically by evaluating the existing conditions and then forecasting the traffic, how the area will grow, by not just focusing on the vehicular traffic, also focusing on peds, bikes, public transit, all the modes of transportation. And then we evaluate the future condition, which will be based on the future no-build. I'm going to talk about that. And then based on that, we come up with the alternatives to address the issues. And of course, the ultimate goal is to get funded for some projects based on the available funding currently. For these 2 projects, we went through an extensive data collection. This is, for example, traffic. It's turning movement count of every single intersections we studied. We did also collected the school bus routes and schedules. One of the meeting, Mr. Skinner asked about the impact of the school buses, so we tried to see the timing, the routes, and the schedule, and how that will impact our studies. We also collected the counts of the pedestrians and the availability of sidewalks in the area, the continuity of those sidewalks, what are the crossing that's available, any push button at the existing signals, all pedestrian-related facilities and issues. We targeted the 2 studies to be multimodal, so we try to see how the 2 corridors, what you see the dash yellow line is the boundary of 1208. So we try to see how the bike routes within the vicinity of those 2 studies are laid out, the planned one and the existing, to make sure that our recommendation matches these existing and planned bike routes. As John mentioned, we have a very capable structural department. They did evaluation for all the structures, which I mean the bridges and culverts within the corridor boundaries, and use the VDOT's load rating and also the age of the structures to categorize and rate the existing, to see if we propose something, do we need to replace that bridge? Is there still a design life remain for these structures? Similarly, the environmental department did a detailed assessment in terms of hazmats and the historical resources, and that's basically to see what are the challenges if we propose a new route or if we expand, and what kind of permits we need, and of course how much money we need to go through these obstacles. We did a detailed sign inventory for both studies, and we evaluated all the signs to see which one is compliant with the VDOT standard and which one is not, and which one need to be replaced, and which one need to be replaced with any improvements. That's one of the finalized assessment that was given to VDOT, and VDOT took action already to replace the ones that need immediate replacement. And we provided the pictures and a location of each individual sign. We also try to see again the schedule and the routing of the freight bus to see how that will impact our corridor studies, the impact of traffic, the bus stops, and all the related issues for the public transit. We also did a detailed evaluation of the capacity of intersections by determining the delay, how much time you are stopping at the intersection. I'm pretty sure you all heard about level of service, which is from A to F. A is you have minimal delay to go through the intersection, while F considered as a failure that you wait for extensive time to clear the intersection. And these are at the intersection, but beyond that, we try to also address the segments that are between the intersection by measuring the density, the speed, and other performance measure to see if we have issues, and we can address not just at the intersection, also between the intersections. This is an example of the intersection of Route 217 and US 17. The top picture is what we model in our VISM. I'm going to show you a video of that. As you see, the left one, the purple one, is the density. So we knew at every point, at every single movement, what's the density. The other one, the colorful one, is the speed. So we know the speed. So that will tell us where are the reduction in speed, which movement has suffered for waiting more. And based on that, we can determine the level of service. And that gives us a good idea how to recommend an improvement. We also did a detailed access management, which is evaluating every single access point, every single driveway, side road within both corridors, and compared with the VDOT's access management guidelines. And we provided this to the county based on that to prepare a county-specific access management for future if any request has came up to see for requests for new accesses, so they can use that as a guide to approve or get any other recommendations. And this is, of course, related to safety and also the traffic operation at the both corridors. We did a detailed crash analysis, 5-year crash analysis for both studies. The goal is to find the hotspot areas, the areas that are high crashes, and to see if we can mitigate those crashes or reduce them by improving the geometry or the engineering. And also, the lower chart that you see is the economical impact, the financial impact on the society from these crashes. So all I mentioned was the existing condition evaluation. We know where we are standing. Then we have a travel demand forecasting. We try to forecast how the traffic will be in the area. Of course, we use FAMPO's model, which was refined by the county in 2015, and we consider the 2017, or county consider the 2017 is our base year. So we customize and validate our model to be matching our 2017 by comparing to ADTs to the data we collected. And since the future year for these two studies are 2035, so we included all the planned and approved residential and commercial development in the area and the growth in the population, and to see how the area will grow and how we can model the future. For evaluation strategy, I mentioned about future no build. So future no build is assuming that we grow traffic, we grow the demand on our roadways, but the roadways stay same. So basically, if we do nothing, what will happen in the future? Once we have that, this is our base, we came up with the alternatives. And that will address the issues and also is parallel to the county's comprehensive plan. For that purpose, we use two powerful traffic softwares, VISM and Synchro, which give you the capacity. And based on the improvement we did, we came up with the cost estimate in the high level, which is like a low, high ranges. And we included the highest right-of-way cost in the range that was provided by VDOT. And with that, we provided these costs for the county to compare the alternatives we proposed. This is a short video about VISM, just to give you a feeling how we model the network. So this is Hospital Drive. This is basically on the Route 1208 corridor study that we proposed the Germana connector. I'm going to talk about that in the future slides. So that's the Germana connector. As you see, it's parallel to Route 1, and we use the model to predict or forecast how much traffic will use the Germana connector if it was built. And the goal for this is to see how that will impact the traffic circulation in the area. What are the number of lanes we need? What's the length of the turning lanes we need? How we need to retime our signals, and all these kind of needs that are based on that. This is, for example, that intersection requires 2 left-turn lanes because now the Germana connector is bringing more traffic to that intersection. This is one of the major intersections, the Route 1 and 208. And as you see, for example, the eastbound left that goes northbound to Route 1. So based on the back of queue, we can determine what's the length of the storage we need to accommodate the left-turn traffic. So for 217, as I mentioned, we have the future no build, as you see red. So that means we have a lot of Fs at these intersections. We proposed 3 alternatives for this study. Alternative 1 is based on the county's comprehensive plan, which is 4-lane divided. So basically both directions, northbound and southbound, have 2 lanes, and it's divided. So, and also we provided the bus pullouts so that it doesn't conflict with the through traffic. Alternative 2 is was mainly based on the issues we identified from future no build. So we try to make it more efficient by addressing only the issues. The southbound lanes will be 2 lane, and the northbound will be 1 lane, and we also provide a shared youth pass. And this is from the city line all the way to Nashan Airport Circle. Alternative 3 is basically all what was included in Alternative 2 plus utilizing benchmark. So what you see in the cross section is making benchmark a 4-lane undivided, so the traffic from US 17 or from southern portion of the corridor will use benchmark instead going to the US 17. All 3 alternatives were also included improvement at the intersection, optimizing signals, providing a shared use path. As I mentioned, it's considered to be a multimodal, and also the very specific access management guideline for the county to use. And these are the details of the alternatives, what's included, how much impact in the structural and in the environmental and the access management, and of course, the bottom line is the cost to compare the alternatives. Similar to 217, 1208 also, as you see in the future no build, we have a lot of level of service F. In this study, we have 2 alternatives. Alternative 1 is what I show you in the video by recommending the Germana connector and improving the intersections and the signals at the existing intersection. Alternative 2 is solely improving the intersections without any new route or having Germana connector. So this is the study, and as you see, the dash line is the Germana connector which connect the Germana Point Drive just north of Germana Community College to Spotsylvania Avenue. And what you see at the north is the cross section, which we have a travel lane and also a 10-foot shared youth pass that can be used by pedestrian and bicyclists. We also provide a summary for the 1208 with the cost to help give enough information for the county to select the best alternative based on the budget. As a result of those 2 studies, 3 projects was submitted to Smart Scale. So for Route 217, the county submitted 1 project, which was based on Alternative 2, which, as I mentioned, is widening the northern portion of the corridor by making the southbound as 2 lanes and northbound as 1 lane, and making improvement at Lansdowne intersection. For Route 1208, the county applied for 2 applications for Smart Scale. Project 1 is based on Alternative 1, which we proposed the Germana connector, and the county only applied for the connector without the improvement at the intersections. The second project, which is the third smart scale application, is the Route 1 and Route 208 Lafayette Boulevard improvement, which is mainly based on the alternative 2. These are currently under review by VDOT. Also, as part of the information we provided in this study, now County with VDOT is doing a STAR study, what they call Market Street Mine Road Corridor Study, which is just north of Mine Road and up to south of Market Street. I know they did a kickoff meeting and they will start next year around January. This is mainly focused on safety improvement. Before I finish, I want to thank the county for all the support, and especially Mr. Dan Cole and Doug Morgan, the planning director, Ms. Wanda Parrish, and your GIS department. They gave us a lot of support. Mr. David West, and also VDOT provided some counts. FAMPO provided us with the model, and of course, I will thank our team at JMT for providing all the support. That's all I have, and I will be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions from the board? Don't see any. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Public presentations?
Yes, sir. Amy, has anyone signed up for public presentations?
Yes.
Right? Guidelines have been read. Who had signed up first, Amy?
Moya Doss, followed by Judy Janelle.
Yeah, it's already on there. It's on the big screen.
Good evening. My name is Moya Doss. Hello again, everyone. Good to see you all. Thank you for wearing your holiday thing. What you're seeing right now is a video that was produced by McPherson Systems, Inc. to advertise their product line of trench burners, which is better than open surface burning, but certainly does not eliminate smoke or ashes. Currently, county ordinances say that you can do controlled burn on zoned agricultural land. What's to stop them from not burning all of the tree waste, stumps, roots, and anything else that they find over there? Please notice that the smoke that's being blown away from the blower by the burn pit, from the burn pit. Look at all the dirt that's also being thrown into the pit, along with all the timber waste. That's just going to create even more smoke and make it take even longer to burn, as anyone who's ever started a fire knows. Likely several thousand tons of timber waste exists on all three sites. With perfect weather conditions, it can burn 6 to 10 tons per hour. They can reduce those tons of timber waste per hour, which does sound pretty good, but 1,000 tons alone would take 100 to 166 hours, or 12 to 20 days, and we are talking several thousand tons. So we could be looking at as much as a year of burning and smoke and ashes. We all know there is no perfect weather here in Spotsylvania. As all of us are aware, wood that's been on the ground here for 8 months to a year, which this wood probably has been lying there for that long at this point, is most likely going to be wet and soggy. Have you ever tried to start a fire with wet wood? The smoke that comes billowing out is horrible, and it takes forever to burn if you ever do get it started. We're talking stumps, branches, roots, you name it. What about the days when it's so hot here, like we have in our summer, where we have ozone alerts? What about the days when it's been raining, torrential, flooded roads, streams, overflowing gutters of rain? What about when it's so dry out there that there are watering bans and no leaf burning bans? Plus, burning in cold months, because due to the weather conditions, it keeps the smoke low due to atmospheric conditions, which will just make the problem even worse. Trench burners are only meant to be used for a couple days before the trench will collapse, and then they have to start up a new one. Also, a perfect trench is needed to attain the advertised burn rates. We're talking high water table, rocky soil, or numerous roots, making digging that perfect trench very difficult, and as we well know, there's nothing but trees. Well, there was nothing but trees over there. On a personal level, I have a child who has asthma. I've spent many hours, many days, many nights in hospitals with a child trying to breathe. Anyone who has any sort of a lung issue, if they have asthma, they're older, they're young, it will be a problem. I also had a sister with scoliosis, kyphosis, 37% pulmonary function. This would have not have allowed her to breathe, so please keep that in mind. Thank you.
Judy Janelle, followed by Richard Janelle.
Judith Janelle, Livingston District, Burning. The Planning Commission staff report on special use SUP for Site A states on page 21, the applicant shall use all due diligence to use or dispose of mulch timber waste off-site prior to pit incineration. However, the applicant states on page 10 in his emergency response plan, construction dated 19 November 2018, the Nair Burner Model T 300 trench burner or similar technology will be deployed in designated areas during initial grading of the project site. Clearly, the applicant intends to burn a very large quantity of timber waste and the new scrub growth right from the very beginning of the site clearing operations. So much for due diligent mulching. In reality, the proposed conditions do nothing to limit the amount of material that they can burn, nor do they limit the number of days, weeks, or months burning can be conducted. The staff report also would allow open pit incineration setback a minimum of 3,000 feet from any boundary line of the property. While we appreciate staff's intent to protect citizens from smoke health hazards, the proposed 3,000-foot setback is not nearly far enough. Last year at this time, Fort A.P. Hill conducted a controlled burn in a forested area on post. A thick blue-gray haze hung in the air, extending out at least 3 miles north of the fort boundary. My husband and I drove through the area on our way to a social engagement. Within a couple of minutes, we were both experiencing burning irritation in the back of our throats and watering eyes. Luckily, we were only in the smoke for a distance of about 5 miles in a car with the windows up. From the Virginia DEQ 2017 report on air quality, fires generate irritating and corrosive gases. Aldehydes and acrolein are released when wood and cellulose are burned. Acrolein is highly toxic to lung tissue, causing protein destruction in the deep lung tissue. I have asthma, reactive airway disease, and 3 clots in my right lung. I do not even want to think about what it would be like to breathe smoke for days or weeks. It would literally kill me. The only sure way to protect the people who live near the boundary of the site from smoke-induced health hazards is to prohibit all burning. The county ordinances that permit open burning were likely written well before there were 2,700 homes built around what is now Site A. The ordinances also obviously did not envision open burning on the massive scale that will be required to clear the thousands of tons of timber waste from the 3,000 acres. And I'm sure there's nothing in the ordinance that says it's okay to burn when citizens' health will be harmed. The county should not hide behind these ordinances that have been overtaken by events when the citizens' lives are literally at risk. Thank you. And I apologize also for the young man from Meadows that we heckled.
Floor computer, please. Okay, the last time I was here, I talked to you about something called arc flash, and I thought a couple of pictures would help you better understand what they're like. This photo shows a DC arc fault fire that is burning electrical cables below a PV solar panel array. The white material lying about is fire retardant foam. The fire continues to burn because there's no way to shut it off coming from the PV panels. Go to the next one. This video shows an intense DC arc fault fire at a PV solar facility. Note the catastrophic damage to the solar panels, yet the arcing continues. Wonder if any vaporized cadmium was released into the air. Next one. This map shows the proximity of the 2,800 acres of undisturbed natural areas that will remain at numerous places on Site A after the solar panel arrays are installed. This is the only solar site of its size in the country that has extensive natural areas within its boundaries. Now envision, if you will, a derecho, a hurricane, or tornado passes through the area when the facility is operational and 1,500 volts of direct current electrical power is flowing from the solar panels through miles of cabling to hundreds of inverters spread out over 3,000 acres. Flying debris and fallen trees from the natural areas and forests around the site severely damage many solar panels, causing raging wildfires that expand outward toward the 2,700 homes surrounding the site. Remember the 2 derecho storms and all the fallen trees we had this spring? Folks who have lived in the area for a while also remember the 2 tornadoes that passed through Site A over the last 10 years. It is dangerously optimistic and irresponsible to assume a similar scenario will never happen during the solar facility's expected 30-year operational life. We absolutely must have a 300-foot wide fire break all around the site and an emergency warning siren to protect the lives and property of nearby residents. I don't have a picture here to show you of a arc blast, but I have one on my cell phone if you'd be interested. It will throw molten metal and shrapnel quite a ways away from the source of the explosion, if anybody wants to see that. Thank you.
There are no other citizens signed up to speak.
Is there anybody that did not sign up to speak that wishes to do so now? Seeing none, we'll close public presentations.
Mr. Chairman, we do have one public hearing. Public hearing regarding the repeal of the solar power tax exemption on real estate and personal property.
Okay.
Okay, floor computer, please. All right, this is a public hearing on the certified solar energy equipment facilities and devices tax exemption. The tax exemption, and this is a local tax exemption, not a state tax exemption. It was enabled by state code, of course, but in 2007, the Spotsylvania Board of Supervisors adopted the solar facilities tax exemption. And as I would like to note that it's a tax exemption, not a tax reduction, and it's an exemption on real property as well as personal property. So basically a certified a solar facility certified under this program would pay no real estate and no personal property taxes to the county. And here is the enabling code from the state code. Just talks about the giving permission, and then how a certifying authority, who is the certifying authority, and these facilities can either be certified by the local building department or the Department of Environmental Quality at the state level. To date, there are no certified solar facilities within Spotsylvania County. According to the Commissioner of Revenue, no one is currently being assessed additional tax for having solar equipment. Therefore, the exemption does not currently apply to those receiving this tax exemption, and no one's tax bills should be affected by its repeal. Again, this was intended for not someone who has a few solar panels at their home. This tax exemption was for basically a solar power facility or a large-scale solar facility. I think it was adopted back in the days when solar power was cost prohibitive, and now the cost of solar power has gone down so that it is close to being competitive with other types of energy generation. The Commissioner of Revenue is aware of solar equipment currently being used for the sole purpose of individual use. Again, that doesn't come under this tax exemption. The Commissioner of Revenue is not aware of any solar equipment facilities or devices applying locally for the certification to receive the tax exemption. Also checked with DEQ, and as far as they can tell, no, there are no certified solar facilities within Spotsylvania County. Per the Commissioner of Revenue, current county revenues should not be impacted one way or the other by this repeal. Again, this should not affect anybody that has a few solar panels for their home use. This was really a total tax exemption for a solar power generation facility. And basically it would treat a certified facility would then be treated like a nonprofit, a church or charitable group, so that type of tax exemption.
All right. Any questions from the board? Did you have any question? I did one question. Go ahead, Mr. Skinner.
Mark, do we know how much revenue we would receive by passing this, what we're doing tonight?
It would have no impact on our revenues because nobody has claimed this exemption. You know, this is not a tax break or a tax deduction. It is a full-blown exemption. So if anybody were receiving this exemption at this time, not only would they not be paying taxes on their personal property, but they wouldn't be paying a real estate tax as well.
All right. We'll open up the public hearing for the repeal of solar power tax exemption on real estate and personal property. Amy, do we have anybody signed up to?
No, sir.
Is there anybody that did not sign up that wishes to speak in reference to this public hearing, repeal of the solar power tax exemption on real estate and personal property? Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing. No. Go ahead, Mr. Yakubowski.
Oh, I was going to make a motion unless there was discussion.
No, I was going to do it to you, but go ahead.
Okay, I'll make a motion to pass.
All right, we have a motion by Mr. Yakubowski
Pass
to
the repeal.
pass the repeal of the solar power tax exemption on real estate and personal property. Any discussion? All right, Mr. Yakubowski.
Aye.
Mr. McLaughlin. Mr. Ross.
Aye.
Mr. Skinner.
Aye.
Mr. Marshall.
Aye.
Dr. Trampy.
Aye.
And Chair's aye.
Mr. Chairman, that'll skip us back up to informational matters. In addition to the information in your attached to the agenda, I wanted to highlight that the Judicial Center expansion and renovation project has been released for construction bidding, and bids are due to the procurement office on January 31st of 2019. Architectural and engineering design service RFPs are due in procurement on December 18th for the renovation and expansion of FREM Company 6. Staff anticipates bringing an award recommendation to the board in February of 2019 for the Company 6 renovation and expansion project. Staff's also holding a pre-construction meeting with Taft Construction regarding the Spotsylvania County Animal Shelter renovation and expansion project this week. One of the primary topics of discussion will be the project schedule and determining a projected groundbreaking date and we'll follow up with information to the board on those.
Okay.
And that's all I have.
All righty. Want to do our closed session?
That should bring us to closed session, yes.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, this will be a resolution to adjourn into closed meeting. Whereas the Spotsylvania County Board of Supervisors desires to adjourn in closed meeting for discussion, consideration, or interviews of prospective candidates for employment, assignment, appointment, promotion, performance, demotion, salaries, disciplining, or resignation of specific public officers, appointees, or employees of the county, specifically the county administrator. And whereas the Spotsylvania County Board of Supervisors desires to adjourn into closed meeting for consultation with legal counsel and briefings by staff members or consultants pertaining to actual or probable litigation, where such consultation or briefing in an open meeting would adversely affect the negotiating or litigating posture of the public body, specifically regarding the matter of Clara Mills versus Spotsylvania County, U.S. Eastern District Court for the Eastern District of Virginia, action number 3:18 CV 423-MHL, and whereas the Spotsylvania County Board of Supervisors desires to adjourn the closed meeting for consultation with legal counsel employed or retained by a public body regarding the claim submitted by Brian and Jean DeVoter for the Board of Supervisors consideration, and whereas pursuant to Virginia Code Section 2.2, 3711A1, 7, and 8, such discussions may occur in closed meeting. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Spotsylvania County Board of Supervisors does hereby authorize discussion of the aforestated matters.
Mr. Yakubowski.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Yakubowski to go into closed session. Mr. Yakubowski.
Aye.
Mr. McLaughlin.
Aye.
Mr. Ross.
Aye.
Mr. Skinner.
Aye.
Mr. Marshall.
Aye.
Dr. Trampy.
Aye.
Chair.
Meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. And whereas Section 2.2, 3712D of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by this board of such meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Spotsylvania County Board of Supervisors hereby returns to open meeting and certifies by roll call vote that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from the open meeting requirements of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act and identified in the motion to convene in a closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed meeting.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Skinner. Mr. Yakubowski.
Aye.
Mr. McLaughlin.
Aye.
Mr. Ross.
Aye.
Mr. Skinner.
Aye.
Mr. Marshall.
Aye.
Dr. Trampy.
Aye.
Chair.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, at this time, I would respectfully request a motion to authorize the county administrator to execute the separation agreements discussed in closed session.
Motion by Mr. Skinner. Mr. Yakubowski.
Aye.
Mr. McLaughlin.
Aye.
Mr. Ross.
Aye.
Mr. Skinner.
Aye.
Mr. Marshall.
Aye.
Dr. Trampy.
Aye.
Chair. Aye.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Ross.
I move that the board continue the consideration of the DeVoter's claim to the first meeting of January 2019.
Motion by Mr. Ross to move the voters' discussion to January 8th. I think it is our next meeting. Any discussion? Mr. Yakubowski.
Aye.
Mr. McLaughlin.
Aye.
Mr. Ross.
Aye.
Mr. Skinner.
Aye.
Mr. Marshall.
Aye.
Dr. Trampy.
Aye.
Chair. Aye.
And Mr. Chairman, we do have one item of new business, and that is discussion of board appointments to the VRE Operations Board and the PRTC Board. These are appointments for next year that are required to be made prior to the beginning of the year.
The,
Go ahead,
Mr.
Mr.
Chair,
Cole.
if I may, yeah, we ran into this problem before when the PRTC and VRE board meeting convenes before our first board meeting in January. And then, you know, Spotsylvania County, unless we do an appointment, you know, now, wouldn't have a voting member at that meeting. And this is a problem that has come up before in the past. And one solution would be to start making VRE and PRTC appointments at your December meeting to go on through instead of waiting until the January meeting.
That makes sense. I think we ran into the same thing last year, so. Do we need a motion on, I'll make a motion that we start doing the PRTC, VRE operations appointments in December. Any discussion? Mr. Yakubowski?
Aye.
Mr. McLaughlin?
Aye.
Mr. Ross?
Are we actually,
Well, we would need to make the appointment.
We need to,
All right.
well, I was just making a motion that we
Yeah.
actually do
Do
the
it.
appointments in December. So
I just have a thought, and that is, maybe we could make the appointment for 13 months instead of 12. Would that be something we could do? And then that way we would be covered on this, and like this would carry through till January of 2019 or 2020, I guess.
Yep.
Then we wouldn't be in this case where the outgoing chair makes the appointments before.
Well, these are board appointments, not chair
Okay.
appointments.
Okay. All right, disregard. Aye.
Well, I'm open to discussion. Do it if you want. Discuss. Mr. Skinner.
Aye.
Mr. Marshall.
Aye.
Dr. Trampy.
Aye.
And chair's aye.
And just to chime in, I can't answer that right now. I'd have to check, whether there's any limitations or not. So
But do we need to make those appointments tonight then?
Yes.
Okay.
At least for
I
this
think
year.
what we did last year, and Amy can correct me if I'm wrong, but we made like a temporary appointment for a month in December, then made the full appointment in January.
I don't. I don't think we did because when we got it appointed last year, we didn't do any January.
But, the easiest thing would be to make an appointment that runs through the end of January, and since, we're kind of stuck with it now that the appointments end at the end of December, we really need to make the appointments tonight.
Mr. Skinner, you're on the PRTC
Yeah,
and VRE.
Paul and I are on the PRTC together.
Okay,
We
with
have one
Mr.
rep, and then I'm the VRE rep.
Okay, you're VRE.
And he is the backup, and David and Tim are the backup for for
PRTC.
PRTC, yes, sir.
Mr. Chair, can't we just extend the current members through end of January without naming everybody? Can I make a motion to extend the current members of PRTC and VRE till the end of January?
You just did.
Yeah, I'm sure you did. I can.
Yeah.
All right.
That works.
Any discussion?
All right, I'm being told that the PRTC bylaws, when they meet in January, they want to know who the people are for the next year. Because they make their appointments for their committees and stuff in January as well. So, I mean, if you want, as I said, PRTC says the issue is that Spotsylvania may not have representation on at some of their meetings, voting representation at some of their meetings on some of their committees and stuff.
Mr. Yakubowski.
We can always make the appointment and then change our mind. I mean.
Yes, if it's a board appointment.
Yeah, because if somebody decided to step down,
So
we can always change it.
Can I amend my motion to extend these appointments through the end of calendar year 19? Anybody got a problem with that?
You just did.
Okay.
All right, motion by Mr. McLaughlin to extend the appointments as they are through the
Well, actually, through January of 2020.
That's
through
right.
January of 2020. All right.
Yeah. The first meeting in January of 2020, I motion to extend the current members through the first meeting of January 2020.
Okay. Amy, did you get that? So you
No,
understand?
I hate to put a wrench in this, but that would go beyond some of the three of our terms that are either primary or, is that possible to do it through our, that can be addressed? Okay. All right.
Yes, every time I think something's going to be easy, it's it's not. All right, Mr. McLaughlin has a motion on the floor. Any other discussion?
Nope.
Mr. Yakubowski.
Aye.
Mr. McLaughlin.
Aye.
Mr. Ross.
Aye.
Mr. Skinner.
Aye.
Mr. Marshall.
Aye.
And Dr. Trampy.
Aye.
Chair, aye. Whew, that should be it. I just want, real quick, just thank y'all for this year. I appreciate all the help, and I know they didn't get the full support of the board, but I hope you think I did a halfway decent job. Besides the names, Mr. Yakubowski and Mr. Skinner. I don't know why. But anyway, all right.
Boy, talk about holding a grudge. I even
had the
forgot I
hardest-
voted against you, but thanks for
The
reminding
last time I wanted to switch it up, I'm sitting there staring at you and calling Mr. Skinner.
Listen to me, you should be proud since I'm better looking than
All right, on that note, motion to adjourn. All ayes. Any nays?